YouTube, it's Brian Phillips. I have something new and exciting for you. AR-637T in this bad boy, which means Vario is installed. We're running it on a smart pack, 3200 4S. Note that it plugs right into the stock wire, which is super nice. We'll go over all that in the build. The build was amazingly simple on this plane. This is an awesome plane, very robust. You have to stick around for at least the build. The radio setup's kind of a pain. I'm still getting used to the AR-636, but this NX6, look at the color scheme. We changed the palette. That is awesome. Makes it so much easier for my camera crew to film. So without further ado, we got a 10-minute timer dialed in. I have no idea if that's enough, but I think we'll figure out if that's enough by whether or not it runs out of battery. So without further ado, we have very little wind this morning, which is perfect. Throttle cut is off. Make sure the AS3X is working. Throttle cut's on. Everything is working. One last final control surface test, because this is a plug and fly. Yep, 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 and yep, yep. All right, here we go. Throttle cuts off. Oh, yes. That thing has some power. Oh, that has a presence. Oh, yeah. I am excited for this plane. Size matters, guys. No matter what she told you. Correct?
Yeah.
I love the scream. It's exactly as expected. I haven't noticed the Vario, maybe because I haven't activated it somehow. Am I getting lift over there? Fixed landing gear on the belly. This thing has plenty of power to get up. The shadow being cast by the high sun right now is really making it easy to see. Good rudder authority. Look at that yaw control. Awesome. AS3X is working gloriously right now. Zero issues with the AS3X. Oh yes, so cool. I'm just loving flying this thing. It's everything I thought it was gonna be, and it's big, which is awesome. I'm going over the backyard right now, guys. You guys almost never see the backyard, but with the trees defoliated. Just the right amount of scream. Not so much that it's annoying. It's never annoying. Who am I kidding? Going behind me. Guys, this thing is great flying. I didn't even give it one click of trim. Let's see it slow down. Take off flaps. Oh, zero ballooning with our elevator correction. Full landing flaps, just a little bit of balloon here. We need to set that a little higher. Wow, that thing is slowing down nicely. Out of the flaps into the full power. Yes, I know. I'm into the full power on a sailplane. Some of you are cringing as I say those words. A little upside down flight for you. Having to give it a decent amount of elevator just because I started into it from hardly any energy. And evidently the rooster says it's time to get up. We missed that by a few minutes, right, camera crew? Mm-hmm. She's still upside down. Not struggling, but I am giving it full stick. Probably means my CG is just a little bit off. No big deal. Guys, loving the flight performance. Takeoff flaps took that stall tendency right out. Oh man, look at this. Look at this. I'm gaining altitude. What the heck? That is awesome. Okay, I want to stay away from the power lines when I'm really riding the line. Okay, full landing flaps get you get out of jail free card right there, bud. Look at this, keeping those wings flat so it doesn't fall out of the sky. Full throttle and right out of the way. Whoa, there's a huge snow dog on the sun right now. Can you film that? That is so cool. It's a 360-degree rainbow. Do you see it? Mm-hmm. That is so cool. That is awesome, guys. What are the chances? Whoa, did you see the hawk that just went by me? Let's go see what the hawk has to say about the plane. Nah, I don't want to film the sun, sorry. Okay, so here we go. Nah, I don't want to crash it just quite yet. I was going to do rolls right there, but I'm not sure of the flight envelope just quite yet. The wind is coming from my right shoulder, so I'm flying into it now, currently. Takeoff flaps there. Landing flaps, we're going to see if the tree line's producing any lift here. Into the takeoff flaps, only 2-second deployment speed there. Yeah, there's just a little teeny bit of ridge lift there. That's pretty cool. I didn't expect that. But a 2.5 meter plane evidently is enough to pick up on it. Nice amount of stiffness in the wings, by the way. And yet you can still control it in a fairly tight space, guys. This is not a huge area for this sort of thing. It's a fairly big plane. That being said, we have about 3 acres up here. Man, that is awesome. Bird, are you thermaling?
He's looking for you.
I know. Takeoff flaps. I'm going to see if I can thermal with him. I don't know if he's getting thermal or not. Oh, would that not be awesome if we caught a thermal this morning? It's so chilly. I can't help but think I'm getting some lift because he's not flapping his wings. Ooh, I got out of it, whatever it was. I wonder if the trees are creating just enough heat energy. But I'm having trouble staying in that tight spot. Ooh, there was some lift there. Did you see it? Mm-hmm. Wow. Whoa! I don't know if that's wind. Okay, I got the rudder kicked all the way. I think what we're doing is as we get pointed into the wind, we're going back up. Oh, there's some smoke back there too. Do you see it?
I do now.
We could go thermal off of somebody's destruction of their property. Just kidding, guys. They're burning firewood. That is incredibly easy to keep it in the air. How many times have I gone around? Like 77?
Well, no, not quite.
Hey, by the way, guys, in case you're wondering, filming thermaling is kind of like filming paint dry. Yeah. So in case you're wondering why I don't film it often, it's because people want to see that. And yes, if it is a powered sailplane or a powered glider or ship or whatever you want to call it today, people want to see it do crazy stuff because it's fun. Around the tree, takeoff flap deployment to keep away from the stall tendency, out of the flaps, and right down the runway. You good for clearance?
Yep, I think so.
I won't hit you on purpose.
I know.
We haven't done that for a while.
It still wasn't on purpose.
You just want the shot so bad that you're willing to
I trust you.
Your leg on the line. No, I'm not talking about today.
That was a freak incident. It was a very small plane.
Oh, hold on. I got 1 minute and 55 seconds, but I can't help but feel like that last throttle was boggy.
Really?
Yeah, but it's a reasonably big plane. What we'll do, guys, is normally we aren't super ultra concerned with battery life anymore with the smart packs, but obviously we don't have a smart ESC on this plane. This is crazy though. I swear I'm in a thermal up there. If my Vario was working, I wonder if I just have to like click over to it. Okay, so. Oh, the Vario is working. Sweet. I just don't have any audio set up.
I don't have audio.
Do you see? You want to show them that?
Yeah, I'll show them that for a second.
That is so cool. So obviously it's on.
Cool.
So watch it. It's sinking, sinking. trying to get it so you can see both.
I don't think you're gonna be able to, not today.
That is so cool. 190 feet up there, that's crazy. It doesn't seem like it's very high,
Well,
but it's a big plane.
this might be a good time to start talking about landing strategies, though.
Oh, landing strategies?
Yeah, now that you're in your 1 minute.
Here,
warning.
hold on. This is not, I'm out of power, camera crew.
Well, I know.
I'm just gonna catch it. Do you really think I'm gonna have trouble landing this thing?
Well, I just know what your plan was.
Oh, you must be thinking of last night when I landed the V1200 and bounced all the way down the hill.
From the front of our yard to the back of our yard.
Maybe that's why you're apprehensive. I'll just land it right now. Ready?
Yeah, right.
Just kidding. Not landing right now. Actually, what I'll do is I'll go ahead and bring it around, take off flaps. I wonder if I can go under the power lines. I want you on the other side of the approach.
Okay.
Right there. That way I know exactly where you are. And then I can be where I need to be to see you. Okay? So I'm just going to bring my energy over here, try to go under the power lines. Full landing flaps deployed. Okay, out of the flaps altogether, into the takeoff flaps. Landing flaps to get it slowed down. Okay, so that approach was like way too much.
Yeah.
I mean, I needed way more power than I had coming into it. So takeoff flaps, I don't want to scratch it up, guys. It's got wing guards on it, but like that's just gonna be ultra lame if I scratch it. Did you see that lift right there? That was so cool. This plane is something else. I am loving it. Okay, so be out of the way if you need to. Thank you for getting on the parking lot for us. Okay, flaps are collapsing. Wow. That was awesome, guys. Okay, so real quick on the Vario, let's go to audio events, telemetry warnings. I wonder if it's under this. Switch, inhibit, on. Oh, audio events for Vario. So let's test the battery before we get ahead of ourselves. I'm showing 1:35 past time, but it was more like 10.5 minutes because we were screwing with the Vario. So somewhere between, let's call it more like 11 minutes of flight time. The wind's coming this direction now. So what we're gonna do is we'll go ahead and, we can't show you on this, but we can show you, well, actually, do we have a flight pack? We might have the flight pack.
I don't remember.
I don't either. That's so cool. It's 2.9 feet lower than when I launched it, which is about right. That's so sensitive and awesome. Huh. The receiver pack is fine. The receiver voltage is fine, but that's the BEC. Okay, so we'll pause it and grab the voltage tester. Okay, so you can see where we placed everything. You see the receiver, we only zip tied it in. We didn't even tape it down. So here goes nothing. Wow, we're right at storage level.
Oh,
we're only perfect. At 50%. We're only at 50%. I could go longer, but I think what I'm gonna do is just to be on the safe side. No, let's go a little bit longer. Let's see if we can get it a little lower. Because there's something about flying on less power and seeing how the plane performs does make a difference. Plus, I don't want to change the battery.
Oh, you're going to go longer on this battery?
Yeah, because I can. Because I can. It's a sailplane. If the power goes low, I'm not going to, I won't lose the transmitter receiver. What?
Right. No, you're fine.
Oh, I was going to catch the mic? Yeah. Okay, sorry. I want to see if the Vario is working. We might even be able to test it here. No. Okay, so the other thing is, throttle cut is on. You will not be able to take this off from wheels, okay? Wheels up, wheels down is not an option. In case you were wondering, I know some of you guys are thinking about that with the landing gear. It is not a retract, it's a fixed gear. There it is.
There it is.
It's working. Take off flaps. It's less annoying.
It is.
Sinking. That is so cool. Okay, full throttle. The pitch indicates how fast the change is occurring. I do feel a little bit like R2-D2.
Having a really hard time with that sky.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, it's better over here. There's darkness over here. I think the Vario just kind of gives up when you're doing crazy stuff. Takeoff flaps, full landing flaps. Let's show you guys a really tight approach. Man, this thing is catchable.
Yeah, it probably is actually.
Trying to just keep the wing tips from slamming down because there is a tip guard here. Okay, so obviously the Vario's working. That seems to be about what I would like out of it. It would be nice to have that tied to a switch so I could just quickly turn it off. Also, my Expo and dual rates seem to be just spot on. I feel like I'm getting enough softness on the sticks that it's just really easy to control, but I don't feel like there's a time when I'm really struggling to have enough control authority to do what I need to do. With the exception of stall turns, I could use a little bit more on the rudder. And to be honest with you, on sailplanes, I like a lot of rudder because I will use that in tandem with the flaps to slow the plane down on approach. But obviously the flaps on this thing are very effective. Crow would be so much overkill. It'd be really cool, but I would say that you definitely don't need it. This battery is what we're using, 3200 4S. Okay, so that's a 30C. They recommend a 2600 4S or equivalent. We happen to have a 2600 4S that's the exact same size. So it's just I think it's a Dynam pack. That's right. So that pack and this pack are identical. You got to keep in mind, FMS is going to want you to use Spectrum stuff because they're a Horizon product line now, but they weren't always. So as a result, you have to kind of take the instruction manual with a grain of salt. Don't just assume it's attached to this item or that item. The Smart Packs are quite a bit smaller. So lighter, more energy density, which is good. So that being said, this plane is awesome. It's everything I wanted it to be. I don't know if it's more, but I had really high expectations of it. It's very good. It's exactly what I wanted it to be. It's not screamer like a Crescendo Evolution. If you want a screamer that'll go in tight spots with safe and everything out of the box ready to rock and roll, the Crescendo Evolution is your plane. But remember, the Crescendo Evolution is 1.5 meters. This is a full meter bigger, which, guys, with sailplanes, size matters. It's so much more immersive when you've got that huge plane right out there where you could reach out and touch it. This thing would soar great. It would slope soar amazing. I cannot wait for an opportunity to use it in that application. In terms of durability, assembly, this thing is more durable than any sailplane I have currently. And it is very easy to put together. I'm talking like, I think there was one bag with 6 pieces, 2 of which were extras.
Yeah.
There was 4 loose parts.
And that's what you said that at the beginning. It was easy, but we were done with the setup part within 30 minutes.
Well,
you were done.
I was done. But the thing is, like, at the field, having done it once, you could have this, and by the way, this will go back in the box. The tail actually does come off. Not when you crash it, but also when you crash it. But you can take it off, but you have to undo a set screw.
Yep.
So without that, I mean, if they would have designed the box 3 inches longer, you could stick it in there with the rudder attached. Other than that, man, this thing is great. It is very good. And the AR-637T is an amazing pairing with this thing because it's got all the features you're gonna want, with the exception of full smart telemetry from the ESC, which would be cool. The braking is set up immediately, by the way. You don't even have to do that, which is awesome. But the instruction manual is in English and you can read it all. It's in very clear English. It's not some Chinglish mix. which is Horizon does a great job on their manuals, but this is an FMS plane. So that being said, I mean, even though it's sold by Horizon now, it was designed by FMS. So this thing has leading edges that are plastic. Huge, huge, huge. This plane just has all the things you want on it.
The quality of the plane is obvious when you put it together.
Yeah, it's hard to show that in a video. Even a video that I'm doing where I take 10 times longer than anybody else to show you the same thing. This thing just feels good. It feels solid. It has, I was showing, well, I don't want to take away from the build, but look how stiff the tail is. You don't get that on foamies typically. That would break, probably even the Crescendo. And then look how hard it is to take the wings off. Boom, 2 clips, out you go, and you're done. And it's got plugs. You don't even have to touch a plug. You just stick it in the hole and it's there. So those would be cool to be wheels. I would like these to be wheels. That'd be sweet. If you wanted to make those wheels, you could Dremel that out and you could put a wheel and you could put a pin through it or a little, piece of music wire, and you could actually have wheels. For us, pavement landings are kind of a common thing, but you saw how well this thing landed. You could land it in pretty much any direction. I could land it toward myself there if I had to. I wouldn't do it unless the wind was driving that direction. But if it is driving that way, I could land out in front of the runway, which would be no problem. And this thing, it's probably catchable. It's a little big just because it's big. I don't want to damage it. But the other thing is the bottom of the wings are white. Not a big problem. I can add whatever touches I want to it, but I really like flying sailplanes. And this thing is no exception. Super fun. The Crescendo Evolution is more of a crazy, like, get her done sort of thing. You're going up there doing unlimited vertical and coming down and just feeling like, you're flying some sort of a jet. This is more like a sailplane. This is the way the sailplanes typically fly. So yeah, if this ran on 6S, that would be kind of cool too. And I would totally invite the opportunity.
Got some grass.
Oh, that's not too bad to get out of there.
No,
That is obviously a vent, guys, in case you weren't aware. In and out. FMS really set this thing up good.
Yeah.
I don't really like
nice.
the grass got in there, but to be honest with you, that's not the end of the world. If you want to buy this thing, check the link in the description below. If you're curious about how we set up the transmitter, please be nice to me. I'm just learning the AR-637T. I've only done 2. One was the Boeing 737 MAX 9, and then the other is this. But we have several more on the docket that are going to be set up in the next few weeks. So please do buy this. If you like sailplanes, you're going to love this. And by the way, the pictures, the stock pictures online do not do this thing justice. When I saw the stock pictures, I thought lame, but then I see it in person and I'm like, there's nothing lame about this. Look how huge it is. That is so cool. I had my kids standing next to it and none of them were even as tall as the first wing.
Yeah.
The first wing section, except for the biggest one. He was a little bit taller, yes.
He's 11, so.
Yes, he's 11, that's true. But man, we're old.
Yeah. Wow.
Anyway, this is so cool. You need one, and don't forget how awesome it is to have big, beautiful flaps. Okay? And no, you don't need crow, but crow would also be cool. Maybe some year I'll do crow when I figure out how to set it up on the AR-637T. That being said, this is a 7-channel transmitter, and yes, I can turn stabilization off on this particular setup, which is cool if you're out doing thermal sailing. Okay, so I have it set on this switch, and I'll show you how I did it, but it's more of like how I accidentally got things to work until such a time as I understand better what I'm doing. So bear with us. We apologize for that in advance. Please watch the rest of the video if you're curious. Definitely buy this, the battery, the plane, the receiver from the links below. You will help to support the channel. Come back for more action. We have a lot of it coming. Thanks, guys. YouTube, it's Brian Phillips again, and we have something new and exciting right here. It's a big box. It's long and slender. You have this uncanny way of knowing what the box is before I open it from a number of different methods. One, you may have watched the video where you see this plane done in its full glory, gloriously flying. Unfortunately for us, we have no clue how awesome it is until we get to that point. You can just watch us unbox it for a little bit. We'll catch up with you. I'm actually quite excited to do this plane because I have a very soft spot for awesome sailplanes, also known as power gliders or whatever you want to call them. This is a 2.5 meter ASW-17 by FMS. I have done a bunch of different sailplanes. This will be one of the bigger sizes of sailplane. Camera crew,
Yeah.
I need your help. Can you lift that side?
That is really inappropriate for a YouTube video.
I was gonna say, it's come from your side. I don't know why you're looking over here like that. Look at this. That is gorgeous. Wow.
It's upside down.
Oh, really? Sorry guys, it was right side up where I was looking at it. Oh yes, FMS 2500 millimeter ASW-17. That thing looks good. I don't know how I feel about that.
Maybe it's optional.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's optional, but I do like the markings on the top. And historically, I like having black delineation on the bottom of the wings. Sometimes we do stripes with tape. Sometimes we do it with paint. I usually use tape because we have some tape that's real thin and it works really nice. I usually put a German flag on these things because I think ASWs are German built, but I don't know. I could be totally wrong. I just see sailplane and I think that's gotta be a German plane.
Why do you think that?
Okay, so,
Can you help
oh
again?
yeah, that'd be great. Okay, so just pull it if you can. This box is pretty big. It's not like really, oh wow, it's super staticky, like crazy staticky.
Wow.
Okay, it looks like
So it's all.
we've kind of got an upright side because I think that's the fuse. I'm not sure, I might have guessed wrong. Some of these boxes, when you unbox them, not really sure which way is safer to open. Generally speaking, I don't have a lot of problems with stuff falling out and going everywhere, but it has been known to happen from time to time, so I try to avoid it. So far, 6 cuts. I'm just gonna do this real slow, make sure it doesn't pop out. Be kind of cool if they labeled top. I think I'm doing it
I
wrong.
see wing. I mean, there's wing on this
Oh,
side.
good.
I
Yeah,
think
they're
you're
not gonna
okay.
fall out.
This one is stuck.
What's stuck?
The wing is stuck.
Can you pull it? Where's it stuck?
Down there in the
Well,
corner.
why are you holding this end? Hold that end, camera crew.
Okay, there.
Okay, there's wing spars there. Wow, that is awesome. The leading edge of the wing is all plastic. I was not expecting that. Wow, look at this. That looks like it's got an integral hinge in it. So it's not just a pinch hinge. This is all plastic. Wow, that's really nice. 2 control arms. There's a, looks like a nylon insert. I can't tell if that's an integral hinge or not. It might just be a pinch hinge because this is really high quality foam, but it looks like there's an embedded hinge right there. Slides together. That's awesome. FMS. No, I don't have to even put the decals on.
Nice.
Oh, guys, that's like, look, that's one big decal, okay? So hopefully that won't catch the wind. I love the size of the flaps. Ooh, they have guards on there for belly landings. Gorgeous. Tape here. Ooh, look. Slide. Wow, it plugs together.
Nice.
Nice. We've got the, what is that, 8-pin connector, and then of course the wing spar is going to go there. Look at this gorgeous line here. Look at this. So
nice.
pretty. I'm not used to that.
It even has on the corner. Is that
Yeah, it's got a
plastic
guard.
there?
Yes, and look at this. Look at this. Oh, that's going to be awesome. I'm so excited about that. This thing is going to scream. It's going to be like, phew!
Maybe not that close to my face when it's actually flying.
Usually when I swing it around your face, you get pretty excited. FMS 2500 millimeter ASW-17. This is a manual. Let's see how it looks. Okay. Oh, German. Not Dutch. Not Deutsch. That's German. Okay. Okay. Just looking at what we've got here. Okay. This looks like a somewhat generic portion of the manual. There we go. Awesome. This looks like it's going to be super easy. My camera crew is super happy about that because she was really annoyed about doing this video.
No, moderately.
She was not excited about doing this right now, but I was super excited. Oh, wow. This is so much more built than I thought it was going to be.
I know. Yeah, I'm really surprised.
The foam is super smooth. Show the people at home how smooth it is. It's like really smooth. And then this is gorgeously applied.
Yeah, the details
whoa,
are
this
really
is
nice.
this has got more texture on it. And look, boop,
It's still foam though.
boop. I like that this wheel is down. It'd be cool to see a retract there. Big old humongo prop. Why do the sailplane manufacturers not make these things white? Out of curiosity.
I'm not sure.
I mean, it's okay. It's fine. 750. Okay, this is 750 kV motor. It's the Predator. It's a 3541 kV 750. That's the motor. In case you guys didn't know what that means, when you're looking at a motor and you see a number like this, it says 3541. So that's like the dimensions, 35 by 41, okay? So the diameter by the depth. That looks scary, okay? If I walked up to a plane and there was like a giant hole in it, it's probably so you can stick the wing in, I'm thinking. And the wing is actually gonna make up that material, which is pretty sweet. This hokey looking sticker thing, I'm sure it's from a real plane. Because this has gotta be some sort of a scale plane.
It looks better in person than it does in the picture.
Yeah, and actually, this foam, some of the foam gliders that are white, wow, look at that. That's heavy out there, and it's not bending at all. That's actually really sturdy.
Well, maybe. Oh, jeez.
I'm serious, if I did that with the ASW-28, it'd break in half.
Yes.
This is really robust.
It is.
Look at that. It's got strength to it. I was not expecting that. This thing's gonna fly good. I'm excited. Whoa, buddy, it's got a screw.
What?
You screw in the wing spars. This is so nice. Guys, this is why you watch unboxings, because you're like, wow, that thing looks like every other glider that I've ever seen. And then you open it up and you're thinking, holy crappers, it has freaking metal rods to make the flap stiff, okay? I have been known to review a few planes, and they take a lot of work to make good.
Yeah.
This one is probably not gonna be one. Look at that. I mean, it can be bent, but it is very well reinforced. Look at this. One gigantic,
That is a
huge, and what's this? It would be a wheel if it was really a plane.
So it doesn't drag
yeah.
the tip of the wing.
Yep. There's no winglets on the 17, but that of course is a scale thing. I love the lettering. I love the way this looks. I love that there's a leading edge that's made of plastic. That's gorgeous. It's gonna scream. I can't wait to hear the screaming. It's so much fun. It's one of the weird details.
Still not appropriate for a YouTube video.
Listen, it's one of the weird details about sailplanes that you will learn to enjoy. Look at this. Look at this. Gorgeous. Oh yeah. Look at that.
Cool.
Carbon fiber. That's where it's gonna join up. This thing could totally legit be taken apart and stuck in the hole. Yeah, yeah, look. This is the worst piece of it.
Yeah,
And come on, guy. Come on, man. All you had to do was make this one piece be attached. But to be honest with you, look how hard this is gonna be. Look at this. Oh, yes. That is freaking sweet.
That might not have been step one.
Oh, dang it.
This is not the build.
We're doomed to failure.
Yep.
But
Put it back
all
in the
that they
box.
would have had to do, this is so annoying because like literally, if they could have made that one piece stick in there, because I don't want to pull that thing off.
I know, but look how much taller the box would have had to be.
It would have had to been an inch taller? Yeah. How about they just make it so it's turned? Then it's 3/4 of an inch.
You're the packaging genius, not me.
This
They didn't ask.
This is gonna be awesome. I'm just saying, I'm not even gonna look at the manual. I'm just gonna stick it in until it's done. Watch this. Whoa.
This is not camera crew approved.
Oh, I need a wing spar.
Yes, see, you always forget the wing spars.
I always forget the wing spars. It's one of the funnest parts of my projects.
Yes, redoing the wings because you forgot the spars.
Now hold on a second. If you were gonna buy this plane and you were legit gonna store it in the box and take it apart each time, it's not very many steps. This is actually not bad.
I mean, of all planes to take apart and put back together.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys that put way more work into taking their planes apart than I do.
That's crazy. They can't hear what's happening on your lapel mic.
They probably can't, but we can hear it.
While you're getting your rod out of your pocket.
While I'm getting my hard rod out of the package.
This is the problem with boxes at our house.
They immediately jump in every time we do an unbox now.
She literally came in from outside to get in the box.
Holy crappers.
Jeez.
That is incredible.
What is it? Aluminum?
It's like a legit aluminum rod.
That's crazy.
And look, I think it's steel and then aluminum. This thing had to cost a fortune. Why didn't they just put a carbon fiber spar in there? Hey, get out of there. What's wrong with these cats?
That's
that is incredible. And look at the machining quality on that. It's like a perfect fit because it has to be. And then look, even that thing lines up because I bet you that's gonna need to line up. No, that's so we can tighten it. So cool. See, these are the type of details that you do not see in the pictures.
That's true.
And I think from personal experience, the more robust and stiff a glider, okay? The more stiff it is, the harder it gets, the better it flies. Don't give me that look. It does fly a lot better because when you're flying these things, okay.
Jeez, that was a lot of work.
So if you're gonna do this, you should probably figure out a different taping mechanism because that was a little bit ridiculous. Oh, look here. Oh, there's a ridiculous hole you have to dig your fingers in to get that. And it's like, why would they? You could chopstick it out. I don't know, there's something good in there. It looks good. Probably some screws. No, I'm gonna do it myself. I'm gonna use the threaded. Oh yeah. Whoa. Don't forget that.
What is
Are
that?
you kidding me? This is the bag of hardware.
That's insane.
1, 2 rods and 4 set screws.
Just put that anywhere.
Only for you, YouTube. I almost broke my glass doing that. This is all we have for hardware. Man, I refuse to read the instructions even though they would be really helpful right now. Just because so dumb. He's like scaring himself inside the box. It's hilarious. Okay, so I've got that in there. Now it balances really nicely.
Comes with its own plane stand.
We don't, it is its own plane stand. Okay, I need a screwdriver.
Oh, that's cheating.
I need a screwdriver.
You ruined the whole thing.
Well, actually, I need a nut driver. A nut driver is far more exciting. So in the vase that should be holding flowers for my camera crew.
Never has.
Whatever that thing has, that one time.
Oh, that one time.
Okay, so I think these are probably supposed to line up, but we'll find out in mere moments. They actually both go at about the same angle. Okay, so now that we have that on, let's refer to the instructions. Because I need to attach this and I need to attach this from here to there and from here to there. So the only problem is I'm not 100% sure which way that goes. So they're saying the outside and the outside. Really? No.
So you're not going to listen to him anyway.
I'm going to ignore him immediately.
Yes.
No, I probably shouldn't though, if that's...
Fly the aircraft at factory setting before making any changes.
So they give you 70 to 80 millimeters back on from the leading edge. Which, by the way, I think it's right where the spar goes, which is pretty customary for a sailplane. Let's get out the world's crappiest calipers here. If you are a caliper manufacturer and you want to advertise your calipers, reach out to me, because these are pretty lame. And yes, I do have another pair of calipers that are much nicer, but I'm too lazy to get them. Okay, so 70 to 80 millimeters back. Okay, so 70 would put us right actually at the end of that. So I'm just gonna, this plane is so beautiful. I kind of hate to mark it with a marker, but whatever. That's life in the big city. It's got to happen. So here's one there. So that's 70, and then 80, of course, would be right there. I'm just gonna mark it here as it'll be easier to mark while the wings are off. I'm really excited for this, guys. I love sailplanes. And when I get sailplanes, I'm almost always happy with them. So I don't know. I don't know. I don't think I've ever had one I didn't like, with the exception of, I think I had one from Banggood that was just like an El Cheapo one. And we had problems with it because there was no braking. And we had a real heck of a time with it because it just never really flew good.
So that snowflake one?
Yeah, the snowflake one. The A800. Not my favorite. Lots of people have had good luck with it. I did not.
I would not have thought when you started flying that you would really like sailplanes.
I know. I didn't think so either, but I love them.
I know.
You know why? Because slope soaring is awesome.
Well, yeah.
So now that we have sort of not read the instructions, maybe we should go back and look at those. Because it's talking about...
See what you missed.
It's talking about... Well, now look at this. See? See? So these control horns can be adjusted to the inside hole or the outside hole. But they're saying to go to the second hole from the top on the elevator, which is supposed to be this one, okay? That's where they're saying to go. So that's not what they said the next page. What? Okay, so the rudder goes to the far outside. Okay, that makes sense. That's what I would like to do. Okay, so the elevator is going to be in the next to last hole. All right, that I can live with. That I can live with.
Okay, good.
So there are 4 set screws that are going to be driven by one of these. I'll tell you what size it is, because I have this awesome flower vase that doesn't have flowers in it. And thanks, Tom, for these tools. Tom sent me these tools because he was cringing every time I was using my little crappy set. This is a 1.5 millimeter again. We just used that tonight on another video.
He did not send us the vase, though.
No, that's a crystal vase.
That's supposed to be for flowers.
Yeah, that is. You guys are all enablers, by the way.
What?
The ones that enable me to not have flowers in there. Okay, so I got that there. And then I'm just going to spin this in. This should work pretty simple. Okay, so do they really, they give you a set screw for both sides? How are you going to get this?
They give you extra.
Yeah, they must give you extra because they could get lost. Okay, this is going to be a little bit tricky to get in there because it's not perfectly aligned. Sorry, camera crew. You see what I'm talking about, folks? But then the manual says, hold this. With the elevator servo at its neutral position, connect the push rod to the elevator and secure it using a hex key. That's not the elevator, that's the rudder.
That's the rudder.
The rudder's supposed to be in the top hole. My apologies, folks. I got all ahead of myself. This one is going to the outside hole, which is why it wouldn't line up. Okay, so just put it in, give it a half a spin. By the way, those servos are FMS-092, so they must be 9-gram servos. I don't know if they're Metal Gear or what, but I'm sure they probably are if they're from FMS. Okay, that rod is like the perfect length. That is crazy. Look at this. I'm not used to this level of precision, guys.
Yeah, that's pretty
cool. Look at this. Because, look, it's neutral. Look where that is. Like, they didn't give us a lot of extra, folks. Okay, here you go. All right, so now I'm gonna stick the doohickey in the other doohickey. And next thing you know, there's gonna be a
baby doohickey?
No, there's not gonna be any babies this time. You could use Loctite on that if you were like a real anal retentive like me. You can tell. Okay, we're just gonna leave that tool there because it's stuck in there really hard. Tom, I've been noticing a defect in the tool you sent me that I didn't pay for at all. Just kidding, they do tend to like to get stuck in there because I torque them down so much on the 1.5 millimeters. But these are actually really awesome. We should link to these things. These Wias, they are really nice. And this little spinner, if you guys aren't used to using precision tools, it really makes it nice. Because then you can sit there and hold it and then support it on the pad of your hand, in case you're wondering. My camera crew does a lot of that.
I do.
Just constantly doing it. It's weird.
It's like my favorite hobby.
Yeah, when she's not building, when she's not filming me building airplanes, she's building her own airplanes, except never.
You should see our basement. All mine.
Yeah, right. Okay, so let's try putting this in here. So you see that servo? I think I'm just gonna lift this up and see if I can slide past it. Yep. And then that slots in. That is crazy awesome. That is such a good fit. It's so easy. Wow.
Does it like click in or it's
No,
just there?
it's just there. But then how the heck do you hold it in there? There's gotta be a way to hold that in there. Okay, so looking at the drawing, the technical drawings, slide the horizontal stab onto the vertical stabilizer. Gently pull on the horizontal stabilizer to ensure the stabilizer has been properly installed. What? Like there's a click? Yeah, it says, okay, well let's.
The tail section on the rudder kind of clicked in.
Oh, it did. Okay, well, it barely clicked though. That's a little bit disconcerting. I mean, what's it gonna do, fly off forward? I mean, maybe if I went up and spun it around like crazy, but even then there's gonna be a tie rod holding it.
Yeah, and you never fly anything crazy.
Not at all, never. Okay, so this is where I go to the second hole down, okay? Do I need to put this on the plane stand so you can see it better, camera crew?
No, you're fine, actually.
This is also an FMS-092 servo. I have to assume it's probably Metal Gear servo. I'm actually quite excited about this. My last sailplane was the Crescendo Evo Evolution, and I loved it. It was so good and still good. It's probably my favorite sailplane right now, but doesn't have flaps. And there's something about flaps, guys. You haven't seen me do a flap video for a while, like an actual install video on flaps. Boy, I thought that was gonna be easier. I'm having a hard time getting it to align. Come on, you can do it. Oh, there it goes. I think I got it. Now I'm gonna hold this neutrally. You can kind of tell from holding back here at the wing root. This would be the horizontal stabilizer where the elevator meets the plastic. And just gonna put the set screw in. Yeah, camera crew, I think you're right. I think they just give you extras. That's pretty nice. Whoa. That feels like I'm stripping it out. That's not good. Okay, there it, oh, man, that feels kind of bad actually. Okay, time for the plane stand. We'll come right back. Sorry guys, we're gonna get this stuck back in here. I just realized that we never actually did the proper delineation between our Unbox and our, okay, so that went way better. I was kind of cross-threading it at first. If you do happen to cross-thread this, folks, all you have to do is undo that and flip it around 180 degrees and you get one get out of jail free card, but do not do it twice because then you're screwed. The other thing too is If you decide you want more output on this, this is gonna be like the easiest mechanical trim adjustment ever, because you just loosen that screw, of course, bring this to where it needs to be, centralize your trims, and then you're done. The other thing is you can go down to this lower hole if you want more output. Typically on sailplanes, I have no fear of having more output for control authority. I typically just use a little bit more expo to soften it, but there is definitely merit to going to the inside holes because you get more torque. And even though the deflection appears to be less, there's only so much torque being applied to that control surface. So you get more precision if you go to the inner holes, but you get less output. There is a trade-off, and you have to keep this in mind. It's just like if you were to put a torque on a bolt, when you're pulling that thing, you know, and you're really tightening it, you know, if you put your hand in here, it's gonna take a lot of effort to move it, but you can still technically move it. Well, over here, you're gonna be able to get a lot more leverage. The same is true on this little control surface. But keep in mind, this is not a static environment, it's dynamic. There's wind and air moving across it. So there's an actual weight that's being bared on this control surface. So as you put more torque to it, it's gonna have to resist that airflow. So just because you have it producing more output, more movement, doesn't mean that you're actually going to displace it, because under heavier loads, you may not actually move the control surface because the air pressure is higher. So again, at lower speed, this is a dynamic thing. At lower speeds, or when you're barely moving, this elevator will be able to freely move all the way. But at very high speeds, it may not, because the weight and strength, the load requirement on that servo, both electrically and mechanically, will be a factor. So hopefully I haven't lost like half of you guys. If you fly airplanes, you'll get it, I hope. So anyway, and if you're new at the hobby and you have no clue what I just talked about, just stick around for another 1,000 videos and you'll get caught up to speed. That being said, that is a gorgeous wing. I really like it. Which
is crazy because it's so simple, but it's like so nice.
I know, and for us, we love when planes are simple to put together. Yes. Why do we love that, camera crew?
Because we usually start filming them at about 9:30 at night.
Oh, no, that's true.
No, is that not the answer?
That was not the answer I was looking for. Simple without compromise.
Yeah.
Hold this as I get the other wing, because it's it's relatively heavy wing. But remember, heavier wings, heavier sailplanes, not necessarily as bad an idea as you might think.
Right.
Because you're not going to be flying under the power of the prop all the time. You're going to be flying with the prop stopped. So that's the other thing, is you want to make sure you have braking on if you're new to the hobby. First of all, there's a lot of planes that we review that would not be good beginner planes. I don't know if this one would be a good beginner plane or not. Typically, sailplanes are actually not horrible beginner planes, in my opinion. The foam, okay, let's show the people at home what I'm struggling with.
Yeah.
You see the hole? So unless you want to just ram it in there for extra fun, you may have to open that up a little bit, because there's foam that's built up around it. You see that?
Yep.
So I'm just going to ram it in.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, yeah, we got it now. Okay, so you'll notice I don't have everything set yet. Okay.
Do you want me to keep holding?
I want you to let go.
Okay.
It should be pretty well balanced now. There was what appeared to be a set screw somewhere in there, but I don't think we need it. I think all we have to do is just go until it clicks. Nice COVID lick there. Oh, wow. Yes. Okay. Camera crew, would you mind?
Yeah.
Push hard. Well, hold on. Now push hard. Okay, I'll do it if it's giving you that much trouble.
Yeah.
It's just hard to hold some of these things because they're slick.
Yeah.
There's mold release on there, so you got to get a good COVID lick in there. For those of you watching this, and the pandemic is long since over, and people are no longer hounding you to wear masks in every establishment.
Oh, there it goes.
I heard a click.
Yep.
Okay.
I could see it too.
This gap isn't closed as much here. It's closed more here, and it's closed here evenly. So I think I need to kind of rotate and pivot that wing back.
There it goes.
Did you hear?
Yep, I did.
Oh, that is freaking awesome.
Wow.
Okay, so I'm 6 feet tall. I am sitting on top of the floor, not my toes, and it's quite a bit longer than me.
At least 2 feet.
Okay,
2.5.
and then 16-foot ceilings in the center, and that is impressively big in this room.
Yeah.
I cannot wait to see this thing
Whoa.
in the air, screaming as it goes.
Line up the end of it with the island.
Now you just want to show off the size of your island.
I just happen to know how long it is.
Okay, so notwithstanding the angle,
Yeah. So it's like 9 feet long because our island is 10.
yeah, that's pretty close.
That's
Well, I
about
mean, you
right.
could.
So-
There's this tool.
Or
Have you heard of this tool? Well, it says 2.5 meters, but the thing is, there is this tool. It's called GOO.
what I was gonna say.
GLE. So if you want to Google the difference between metric and standard, you can do that.
Then you'll know.
Then you'll know. So that was probably the world's easiest assembly. It was so easy, in fact, that I literally didn't even stop when the unbox was over.
Okay, but
Look at
back
this.
to your
Okay.
point and me not being like snarky about it. A plane that's simple to put together means you're flying faster.
Oh, yes. Look at this.
That's a
guys.
really-
Look at this, folks.
That
It's weird. It's
canopy is weird.
yeah.
What?
Look at the texture.
I know.
Give them a super up close. It's like,
Wait, hold on, I'm shadowing it.
that is so
It's-
weird.
Yeah,
Touch it.
I know I did.
Feel it.
It's like super weird. Hold on, it's not focused.
And then, look at this. It's a nice clip, big opening. That's good. That's good for batteries. All the wires are right here, folks, because this is a plug and fly. Or if you prefer to say it the stupid way, plug and play. Sorry,
nice to the
I have
people.
to be nice to the people. The other people, the people that say things different ways that are wrong. I have to be nice to those people, says my wife, camera crew. I mean, okay, so we have flaps. We have whatever this is. We have throttle. We have, already did that. Then we have a rudder. So, elevator? Why are there two? Why is there a splitter? That's got to be the ailerons. Okay, so evidently the aileron tag fell off of mine. That's, not a big deal. Ooh, they even have a don't chop your fingers off warning on this. Ooh, look at that. Look at that, folks. We've got an XT, it's an XT60H-M. Okay, let's try something. Typically, I'd be using a battery, but in this case, I'm going to use an adapter. This is an IC3 female to an IC5 male, even though the connector's backward. It's always the copper, folks. Those are sockets. This is a pin, okay? So it's kind of like, it's ambiguous, like pat, okay? This one here also has a pin and two more pins, so it's a sausage fest. This one's kind of a nice little mixture, okay? So technically this is a male and female. It's kind of ambidextrous, if you know what I mean. But this one here is all male. What is this? IC5. IC5, IC3. The reason I care is because an XT60 is obviously not the same, but yet, watch this. Oh, yes. Oh, get in there. Oh, yeah, buddy. It goes right in. And when I say right in, it's kind of not right in, but it'll go in there okay. Okay, so I just wanted to show you that in case there was any doubt. Oh, no. It's so weird. Oh, man. I tripped.
Should we avert our
I
eyes?
tripped. Oh, my goodness. I tripped and cut this off. Well, don't cut your fingers off. Okay. Dang it. Lost it again.
Hate when that tag falls off.
So weird. So we're going to be using this type of end. I haven't decided if I'm going to go 4S or 3S on this thing because, to be perfectly honest, I don't know what it's rated for. Does it say on the box? It probably says somewhere on the packaging. Overview, FMS is proud to announce the brand new 2500 millimeter ASW-17. True to the FMS spirit, no detail was overlooked in the design. Okay, blah, 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 blah. Ooh. Oh, 3,000 millimeter Fox. Yes, I'll be doing that soon. 3 minutes. It can build as a little 3. Good Lord, we are slow.
That's like exactly on time for you. Just
Yes.
times 10.
So it's Brian is the multiplier factor.
Yes.
So it's like if it should take 3 minutes, then it'll take like
us 30.
35 minutes. Okay, so this is the Predator 3541. It's got a 40 amp ESC. Oh, great, it's not going to say. Okay, 40 amp, 4S pack, power with a 4S pack. Okay.
I already pointed that out.
4S. What?
I already pointed that out.
See,
while you were going on and on about.
You are, so helpful that I don't even know how helpful
Recommended battery also comes in the instructions.
you are. Oh, what's it say?
2200 to 2600, 35C
Whoa, 2200 through what?
through 2600.
Are you serious? So like if I use a
35C?
3200 4S smart pack, you think that's going to be wrong?
Not.
Are you saying this is not going to work?
I'm not saying it's not going to work.
This is going to work.
Pointing at me. Goodness gracious.
What?
Don't worry, the people will get
This
it.
is going to work, okay? Listen, this is not made for kids. This is adult content because they spend money. By the way, have I mentioned, total side note, if you want to help support our channel, buy this from the links in the description below. And you can have one of these that shows up and your wife will be totally fine with it, just like mine is. Okay? Truth in advertising.
That was mostly true.
She won't even have to help you build it, I promise. Unless you're one of those weirdos on YouTube.
Oh wait, who's the weirdo? Me or you?
So, hold on a second. Something bad to report.
Oh no.
It's the crappy
crappy
straps.
Velcro.
But it's okay. I mean, everything else to date has been really good on this plane. This Velcro's not crappy. It's just these straps are kind of, these are the mid-grade crappy ones. They're not
Yeah.
the best ones that are really heavy duty, like the ones you can actually pull on. Ooh, look, they're both loose.
Oh,
That's a huge improvement. See, many times those things are glued, and so you can't actually use them the way that they should be used, which is really frustrating because it shouldn't have to be that way. Now, you'll notice I have a battery, and you're like, Brian, there's no receiver in there. Don't plug it in. And I'm thinking to myself, no, I wasn't going to plug it in. I was just going to stick it in the hole. And then I was going to figure out where the CG needs to be so that I can figure out where I need the battery to be so that I can figure out where the receiver needs to be so that I could tell my wife and break it to her very softly that we still have a lot of work ahead of us. She's smiling. But it's kind of like the evil smile, like when she's about to take me out. Okay, so there's the battery. I have it stuck in the hole approximately where it needs to be, okay? It's not perfect. It's not great. It's just where it needs to be. This is a 3200, mind you. It is not a 2600, which is recommended. The reason I'm going 3200 is because I want to push the envelope, but also because it's a good fit in this hole. And you got to keep in mind something, guys. When you have a smart pack, you're generally going to be just a little bit short on size. And that's a good thing because smaller, still going to pack more punch. And you need to be aware of that. This Velcro, I'm probably not going to use this Velcro. Now, some of you may want to use this Velcro. And that's perfectly fine. Hey, check this out. Whoa, what do we have here? 2600 4S with the exact correct connector.
Yeah.
Most of you guys don't open your drawers and find that, but I do because of this wonderful habit of mine. This is from a Dynam plane we reviewed recently. It's actually the exact size that they recommend, so I guess we could hypothetically do that. That's a 25C. However, 25C, I just want to show you something interesting, little detail. That was a 3200, right? 4S?
Yeah.
3200 4S?
Yep.
So it's a lot like this 3200 4S?
Probably. Similar.
Okay, I just want to show you something, guys. Interesting. Would you look at that? Wow. Wow. Okay. You're like, whatever, Brian, I'm calling BS. That's not 3,200. It's gotta be no more than 2,600. Yeah, and this is a higher C rating too. 30C, 25C. I'm not trying to beat up Dynam. This is perfectly fine, which is funny because that's a Dynam brand battery, but everything else is Detrum or Detrum or whatever. I don't really get that. So the Smart Pack, it's kind of smart. If it is actually 3,200 milliamps compared to 2,600, and I'm kind of voting that it is. Interestingly enough, this isn't puffed at all, which is kind of nice. So that's good. Does have the exact correct XT60HF, whatever that stands for. Those don't have heat shrink. You've got a little trailing connector cover over there, which is kind of nice, similar to the IC3. Okay, IC, which comes from the historical EC3 connector, also known as E-Flight compatible, which was the worst connector in RC history. And yet we still have tons of IC5 connectors, puke. Not IC5, IC5s are fine, EC5s. Ugh, hated those things. That's why I had XT60s on everything. It wasn't because I didn't like E-Flight or I didn't like Horizon models. It's because I didn't like pulling them apart because you about had to rip the leads out. And they also suck to build. In my experience, some people had better luck than I did, but I also was buying the El Cheapo components. So that being said, now that we have covered our bases, yeah, there's a cat. Look at this cat. Show him. Aww. The cat wants in. Did it get any creatures?
He didn't bring in a friend.
He didn't do his job. Make him stay out there longer.
Well, he's been out there a while. Maybe he already took care of the evidence.
Oh, that's true. Could be. So the next step for us is going to be to pick an appropriate receiver, which we're going to be doing right now. Okay, guys, so if you really want to make your lives difficult and have a good outcome, things like that, look on page 7. It talks about the high rate and low rate deflection amounts, okay, as it pertains to the elevator, aileron, and rudder. Okay, so if you're into doing lame things like following the instructions and having good results, just look on page 7, or you could just watch a video from some dude on YouTube that obviously is brilliant. So when you're done watching his video, come back over and then buy it from our links. So anyway, this is what we're doing right here. It's gonna be good. And you know what else is gonna be good? Boom, the NX6, which is funny. It's like, Brian, you got a DX18, why are you using NX6? That thing's creepy. No, it's not. It's actually really good. We like it. Mm-hmm. It's been really good. I was thinking, no, it's going to be creepy myself, and except that it's not. And it's really nice. And honestly, I've already got like, what, 3 or 4 models? 3? It thinks it's 4, but it's actually 3.
Yeah, it's 1 less or 1 more.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we're going to use this. This is kind of the latest and greatest, folks. This is the 6-channel AS3X telemetry receiver, which is also known as the AR637T, not the 637TA, okay? TA is the cheaper one that doesn't have a vario, but this has a vario. Beep, 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 beep. Is that a pretty good simulation?
How did that go?
No, I'm not doing it again. You can rewind it. So I know you're making fun of me now. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna, it's gonna be a super quick and easy install.
15 minutes?
15 Brian minutes.
Oh, great.
I know.
I'm gonna need dinner.
So here's what we're gonna do, guys. This is gonna be kind of a little bit challenging for me and the camera crew to film for painful reasons.
Great.
I just want you guys to see how really, it's not so much hard to do this. Plug and fly models are not that big a deal in terms of being hard, but please, if you're new to the hobby, okay, after you've clicked the link and bought this and that stuff, just go ahead and click another link in another one of my videos with a bind and fly or ready to fly, because please don't ask me step by step how to do this. This is not like the first plane you get sort of stuff. This would be maybe like your second or third plane. It used to be back in the day you had to start from this, except that this has more technology in it, and half of it, than what you would get for a $1,000 transmitter and receiver, which, by the way, you would literally share them because they were so expensive from one plane to another, or car to another, or truck or car to another, because they were so expensive. This transmitter has 7 discrete, fully proportional channels. It has a higher refresh rate with more resolution. And that's not even talking about the color screen or the noises that it makes, or the annoying talking lady that tells you when time is up and things like this, and the gimbals and all the switches and doohickeys. I mean, it used to be like $1,000 for a crappy 4-channel radio with a receiver. Maybe $500-600 on the beginning end of when I would have been interested in flying. When I was doing radio controlled cars as a kid. See, I didn't fly as a kid. If I would have been flying as a kid, I would have been even more far progressed into this. So
You did a couple like with your dad, right?
well, my dad had built an eaglet. So an eaglet, well, anybody who's watching knows what an eaglet is.
I do not know, but I'm also not actually watching.
Well, yeah, I know. That was back in the day, but it was years ago.
Yeah.
Okay, so inside of this, there is a fold out like you normally get on the Horizon full retail packaging like that. And then inside of there, there's a manual, okay? Then there's an initial setup. So good job, Horizon. You actually gave us instructions. Thank you. That was helpful. Okay. Initial setup. You have to read a little bit to do this. Okay.
Yeah, actually.
The AS3X reaction test. And then it's continued if you're doing safe. I don't know that I'm going to go through the trouble. Now, I'm just going to pause for a second on that. If you want safe on this plane, it would not be a plane that safe would be a big problem on, okay? I'm not trying to berate anybody who's using safe. Safe is an awesome technology that helped me to learn to fly, and I highly encourage you guys to use it to get flying. Real flying is better than simulation flying. Simulation is good for people that can't fly every day and want to get the muscle memory, and it's also extremely frustrating when you're learning to fly because you're just like, I crash immediately. How can this be? How would you ever fly a real plane? Trust me, the real world is a big place. There's a lot of room to make mistakes and still live to see another flight, your plane and you. My recommendation is to get an easy plane that's easy to set up, not this, for a first plane, learn to fly, and then build on that. And it will take a few years to get to where you're comfortable buying like any plane, okay? And believe me, when you start taking the training wheels off from safe and you start being able to fly planes without stabilization and things like this, which I pretty much always fly with stabilization. I like stabilization. Some people, veteran pilots, usually don't like it very much because they're more skilled and they're used to it. Getting full circle here, don't start if you need safe on a plane like this. You're going to, well, actually this plane would be okay without stabilization at all. So you wouldn't even have to have stabilization on a plane like this. In fact, some people prefer no stabilization on sailplanes because they're looking for thermal ships, as they would call them. And they go around and they look for a wingtip like this. Because what happens is you're searching around and then you'll see it get affected by the environment. AS3X is going to counter that. So it can sometimes hide those impacts. But with a Vario, you can sometimes hear it. You'll actually hear it as you go up, and you'll hear it when you go down. And then if there's a change that's within the threshold, then you won't hear anything. It'll just be quiet. Something we're not used to. So, obviously, for obvious reasons. So, this is just to show you that there are instructions. If you want to do safe and you want to do AS3X, which we are going to do AS3X, you need to be aware that it is kind of a task to set it up. But once you have it set up, it's not too bad. And it's called forward programming, and that is done from the transmitter on the screen back and forth to the transmitter, which is really cool. And forward programming is really a game changer if you are used to AR636As, which did not have safe but had AS3X, and AR636Bs, which had safe and then I think some of the later A's may have been programmable with a firmware update to get to the B. I'm not sure, don't hold me to that. The Bs were reverse compatible to go back to not having safe because safe consumed a couple of channels that you would have otherwise needed for things like flaperons and that sort of thing. So for those of you who haven't watched or listened to me explain this, which I don't blame you because our videos get really long, when you ask about flaperons are not easy to program on a bind and fly, but when you're starting from scratch, it's maybe not so bad, okay? Did that make sense?
Yes.
Because the wing types are limited on the old AR-636B, but on the AR-637T, then you have a broader spectrum of what you can do with that.
But you don't need flaperons on
I won't
this
use flaperons
because it
on
has
this.
flaps already.
But crow would be sweet. And what crow is, okay, so flaps are the inboard portion. They go down and they reduce the stall speed of the plane by doing two things. They change the shape of the wing and the angle of attack. So they typically kick the nose down a little bit. They change the shape of the wing, which creates more lift. But generally speaking, reducing the stall speed means you can go slower without falling. Okay, stalling is falling. Then these wings have ailerons as well. The ailerons are the outboard as opposed to the inboard. The outboard portion of the wing is an aileron, and that moves up and down to roll the plane. And then of course the elevator pitches the plane up and down, and then the rudder yaws the plane. Okay, that's like a flat moment. But a lot of times there's a little bit of a roll that comes into it too, because it speeds up this wing and slows this wing down on a left hand or a right hand turn, and then on a left hand turn it's vice versa. So in our occasion, if we want crow, that puts the flaps down and then ailerons up, but the ailerons will be treated as flaperons with the flaps being a separate channel. Now, why is that not necessarily helpful in this application? This is an AR-636, 637, and I believe that it is a 6-channel receiver. Okay, I'm pretty sure I'm right on that. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 channels. Nope, throttle. Need 7 channels for that. So when all of you start beating me up about why are you not doing crow, why are you not doing crow? Because if I did crow, then I would need more channels, which I don't have on this. And this thing is the bomb and I'm using it. So that means we're just gonna have inboard flaps. No big deal. At some point there will be, I have it on good word, a little ditty that's got more channels. Okay, at which point, flaperons, mix for flaps. Elevator mix is a little bit of a pain because you have to add that then separately. But what you'll have is a wing type, hopefully, that you can turn on and just have that set. That'd be sweet. I would love that. So then you have channel 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I guess technically that is 6. Because the flaps could be shared.
But if you do crow, you would need...
You would need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So technically without a retract, you could possibly do it. But there are limitations on the way that the forward programming works, so we'll see. Anyway, so now that we know that, I'm sorry guys, that was a lot of blather, but I hope you learned something, and maybe you can set me straight if I'm wrong, please do. I mean, everybody else does, you might as well too. So if you look here, we have to figure out where we're gonna mount this. Now I just noticed, surprisingly, I don't see any mounting tape in here, which again, that's a little bit weird. I thought there was mounting tape that came in these.
Oh, that's the wire.
It does come with this wire, which is kind of goofy. I don't even know why they send that. I think that's if you're using the external BEC. So this has the 1-channel plug that you can use to go into this thing, which I believe is to provide power if you want to power this externally from your ESC. Not from the BEC that's in your electronic speed controller, okay?
Right.
So in our case, this wire has a red, black, and white. White just says throttle. So this red and black wires are actually coming off the BEC. This provides power to the electronic speed control, which then feeds back a 5-volt power system that we can use to run the transmitter and to run all of the rest of the electronics. In this case, this is flaps, it's split. So the red and the brown are your positive and negative, and then your signal is yellow. So that's is that Hextronics. And then this would be a Futaba color code, okay, just so you know. So the rudder, of course, is going to have the same thing, except it's not split because they're only one of the servos. And you'll notice like the flaps are just tied together physically because they are located in the wing in the appropriate relationship so that when they operate the same direction. Whereas the ailerons are Y-cabled together and they are physically mounted appropriately such that they operate opposite one another. Again, if you were doing flaperons, you would have to take this Y-cable out and independently control that channel. But Brian, how come I gotta use 2 channels for that? Because when you move this one down and you move that one down, and then later you say that one go up and this one stay down, you can't do that because if you give the same control input, you have to split them up to make them do this. Okay? Otherwise, you can do this all the time, or you can do this all the time. But without 2 channels, you can't do this and this. And that's what you need for flaperons and or crow in an environment like this. Okay. What?
Hey, before you get too much more ahead of yourself, you didn't ever actually check the CG, which is why you put the battery in.
Yeah, that's right. Well, let's just plug this in because it's got to be in there anyway.
All right.
Okay, so throttle is going to go, this thing's going to tell us where all the channels hook up. I just want to double check I get it right. It shouldn't be really rocket science-y on this. Factory reset. Okay, lots of crap in here. This is a real, I mean, if you guys are looking for a good nap, just jump into this manual.
Page turner.
It's actually a good one. I highly recommend. I did read through it when we did the Airbus, or excuse me, sorry, the Boeing 737 MAX. Yeah, it got approved by the FAA, so stick it, people. So now they fixed the software. All it took was 2 minor crashes. Anyway, so it's been fixed.
I didn't say anything.
I'm just saying, but there's people on there, they're gonna be like, yeah, whatever, MCATs. I agree, they probably should have fixed it, but still, I like Boeing. If you don't know what MCATs is, it's like, hey, I'm gonna stall, stop applying up elevator. No, I want to apply more up elevator so that I can stall the plane with 300 souls aboard. No, you can't. I'm the computer. I win. Okay, putting the nose down. Problem is sometimes the computer's actually wrong and there's an override, but the people didn't know how to do it and so everybody died on the plane, which sucks. And it's unfortunate because real people died on that. But the Boeing 737 MAX 9 is so sweet and I hope it never has that problem again. Actually, I kind of hope that never really happens again, period. But you got to remember, MCATs was just one thing. Boeing's a very big thing. Very big. Lots of moving parts going on.
Way down the rabbit trail.
That's why you watch this channel. Okay? All right, we're just gonna go with channel 1. Now, this does a really poor job of indicating where signal is. But if you look on a Spectrum receiver, there's actually on the side here, minus, plus, S. Okay, so S is white for us, right? Like that. So there's channel 1 for throttle, which I don't even think that's right, but I'm still gonna check. In this manual, they recommend the channel setup, but I don't exactly know how they know what channel is gonna be what. Ailerons, throttle's channel 3. Okay, so we're gonna try that, I guess. So channel 3, supposedly throttle. It's like it's normal, I don't know. I don't typically know other than what comes up on the screen, guys. Let's just talk about this. Okay, so V1200. Nothing particularly special about this one. So throttle would be on channel 1 in this. So honestly, I'm not really sure if there's a standard per se. It's kind of whatever you set it to, but you just got to be a little bit careful when you first set up your model in a plug and fly so you don't chop your hands off. We had a label somewhere, but I don't know. I tripped and cut it off. Okay, that's fitting for cut your fingers off warning. So channel 2 on my transmitter is typically ailerons. So remember, signal up. In this case, it's yellow or orange. It's technically supposed to be orange. Then rudder is going to be channel. You guys see what I'm doing? I'm just looking down at this. Okay, so just whatever it says for that channel. I'm not going to use that model, but that's just what I'm using as my basis for getting the wires landed quick. Rudder is going to be actually skip 1's elevator, then rudder. Okay. And really, it doesn't make a huge difference, except that this is an AS3X receiver, which means there's certain assignments that have to be on certain ports, if you will, okay? So this is flaps. So flaps will be up here. So yeah, technically we do have extra port. We could split those ailerons and see about doing crow. That'd be actually really awesome if I can make it work. I'm gonna do it. My camera crew just cringed without even knowing it.
Nope, I did.
Okay, good. Just wanted to make sure we're on the same page. Oh boy, that one doesn't feel like it wants to ram in there very good, does it? Oh yeah, it's in there. Okay, so it's in there, right? So I'm not even worried about this mounting yet at all. I just kind of want to know that it generally fits in here. That's actually really clean. I like that. So now we're going to have to eventually mount this though because of AS3X. Okay, antennas. These things need to be not parallel. They need to be 90 degrees of each other, and then preferably in a couple of different spots. If you have a carbon fiber model, be careful, that does block radio frequency, okay? So you need to go with, you know, a different spot for that. But generally speaking, if you have a stabilized receiver, you want to try to kind of lean it toward the center of gravity area. So in this case, on this plane, I'll probably just, there's 2 holes here, so I don't know if I'll just like zip tie this on temporarily until I have established the way I want it to go. And I'm not sure if I want to maybe, you want to show the people what I'm doing here maybe? See how like these 2 leads, you got to be a little bit careful. These are a coax cable. Well, actually, yeah, that is a coax. It's not a biaxial cable. So there's only one wire and then like a ground. So if you kink it, it will ruin it. I was gonna say something, but I'll just save that for another day. It wouldn't have sounded right, so I'm just gonna leave it. Okay, so normally, sorry guys, I'm just having trouble getting these wires out of the way. So you can technically mount this in whatever orientation you want, but it needs to go forward and backward like this way. Here, like forward and backward, or opposite of what it is now, okay? Okay, take that. Thank you, please. So I think I'm gonna just throw a zip tie in there temporarily because I need it to stay seated for when we do the next couple of steps, but I don't need it to be, there is a way to reinitiate once we get it where we want it, okay? Gosh, we're like really short on zip ties up here. We should probably get some more. We have tools in several places of our house. And because I don't like going back and forth to get like side cutters a million times a day. And so I will literally have side cutters in 2 to 3 places in my house because I'm basically too lazy to go get them. Now there's a button right here. That's your bind button right there, that little spectrum label. You hear that? Mm-hmm. So I want to make sure I can get to that, which I can, or I could just go into the bind plug too. It doesn't matter which way. Now, trick of the day, guys, when you go, would you?
I didn't.
See this? When you kind of kink it like that, then what happens is it allows you to feed it underneath a blind spot like this. You know, if that, like that, see? And you can grab that and just kind of, I could probably just, you're blocking my face with that, you know?
Oh, sorry.
Okay, sorry, the camera crew loves you guys so much
You don't need
that
to see.
she figured I didn't need to see, even though I'm building it. Okay, so there we go. The throttle cable is kind of giving me some trouble there. Those are telemetry module plugs, so like if you have a GPS module or a Vario or whatever, I think the Vario is built in on this one. There's actually a barometer on it, I believe. The barometer is a little bit expensive, so that's why the TA does not have it, because that's a way for them to save a little bit of money on the regular bind and flies, but then again, like on the Crescendo Evolution, there should have been a T on here instead of a TA. Okay, so then that's more or less square, but for all intents and purposes, when you are ready and that's where you've settled on, you need that thing to be still, okay? It needs to be positioned right, because if you're depending, especially on safe, then it's gonna potentially make the plane fly at an angle, or a yaw or some weird position. Now, luckily, if you have it zip tied down and it's tight, the yaw axis is probably going to be the least critical because on AS3X only, it could be at an angle. It wouldn't be the end of the world. Once you get moving, it should be fine. Okay, so that being said, still better to have it square and true and not get kicked 3 degrees when you move your battery around or whatever. Okay. Camera crew agrees. She was nodding her head. All right, so the next step, of course, is going to be, we actually technically have that installed. So now what we need to do is we need to kind of build like a basic model. So let's do that next. So this is kind of like a hybrid radio setup and plug and fly thing. It's a little bit more than we do on a regular bind and fly, obviously. So I'm going to go down to System Setup, disconnect my RF, Model Select, add new model, model type. See, you can actually select a sailplane if you really want to make it cool. But in our case, we're just going to create an acro because of the forward programming for the AS3X. Okay. Now model name, you'll notice it's 4. Hey, it figured out the numbering scheme finally. Okay, so I'm going to click that one to select. And then I'm going to go into, whoops. This is where you could change it again if you change your mind later. I don't care if it's reset because I just made it. Model name. So this is, you can actually change the number now too, which is nice. Are you going to fix that saturation so they can see?
Yeah, I kind of screwed up the focus though.
Okay. So basically what we need to do now is we need to name it. So we're going to call this the ASW-17 and then we'll say 2.5 meter. So we've already got the A, so then we'll scroll here, ASW. This is such a short one. See how it cleared? Is it dash 27? Oh, ASW dash 17. ASW dash, there it is.
That scroll thing is a lot nicer.
Yeah, but you got to get used to it like that. It is nice because you can insert, well, you can't insert that I know of. ASW 27, so now I need 2 point. See how it changes? Where you start, it always goes to that space. There used to be one step that was nice. You could press the button and it would jump to the next kind of like grouping of numbers. 2.5. Oh, you know what? This is an FMS. Whatever, that's fine. 2.5 meter. And then I guess I'll do FMS. Because typically with my Spectrum transmitters like this, I would be doing an E-flight or something like that. So I'll just indicate that here so that I have clarity in case I do another 2.5 meter ASW-17 at some point, FMS. You're probably thinking to yourself, are you kidding, Brian? Yes, I do that many planes. Okay, so aircraft type, we need to add in 1 aileron, 1 flaps. I'd really like to see if I could do, see, that's 2 ailerons, 2 flaps. That would allow technically for crow, I think, because you had to have 3 channels there, but you'd have to do your own mix to get it. So really what I would do if I was doing flaps for crow, I would do flaperons, and then I would change, I would just add a mix for flaps. So I guess for now, I'm just gonna err on the safe side and go with 1 aileron, 1 flap. Obviously the tail is a standard tail. Okay, next. So I need to change, and you can change the throttle mode too. I don't talk about this ever, but you can change that, but then if you're in sailplane mode, you can do all sorts of crazy things. Okay, so we're just looking for a model that kind of closely represents. That one's like super detailed compared to the rest. Ooh, yeah, buddy. There it is. Okay, so then we can go to channel sign we'll mess with later. Okay, so we're gonna set our timer to, I think we're gonna leave 1 out. Nah, we'll go ahead and turn it on. Active. 1 out means when you go over 25%, it turns on. Clear is still working. At 1 minute, we have a tone. We'll do voice. Inhibit, tone, inhibit. Oh, jeez. Inhibit, 10 seconds. I don't know. It's kind of distracting.
Yeah, I think you've been inhibiting them.
Voice and vibrate, and then every moment, every minute after. Okay. And we're set to 5 minutes, but I think we can probably go to 10 and be safe. But you got to remember, if you have a full smart setup, like if you replace the ESC with an Avian, then you would get smart feedback too. So you would actually have a pretty good chance at being able to just get that obnoxious warning at the voltage level. Okay, so you want to come back over? Okay, so I'm gonna do flap system. Switch is gonna be set to this one, switch B. I don't know what direction. It's probably gonna be like minus 100, plus 100. So I'll just do like, actually, I'm sorry. We'll probably go minus 100, then plus 100. I really don't know which way it's gonna be. And typically on a sailplane, you're gonna have some elevator correction, but I just don't know what to put. So I'm gonna do like elevator correction of like 5 and 10, but you don't know what direction it's going, so this could really screw us over. So I need to be mindful to put that in the middle so that when we start this thing up, the control surface is not like kicked to one side and damaging itself, okay? Then I need to go to throttle cut. That's another one that's very important. Click and set that to switch H. Okay, just looking and setting, that's at minus 100 on the throttle. Then when it's off, it is allowed to move free, so we're good. So now that we have all that stuff set, that timer set, Expo, I'm just gonna do my standard dual rates in Expo. Switch F, we'll do 5%, then we'll do 10, whoops. Then we'll do 20, whoa, geez, 20, and then we'll do 90% output, okay? Then we're just gonna literally copy that for each of these. So basically the same exact thing on all 3 axes, and then we can fine tune after our maiden flight. Okay, so that's gonna be 20 and then 90. So that's gonna be like our dual rates and our expo, okay? Same thing. This just softens to the middle of the stick, which makes the plane more flyable or easier to fly, if you want to call it that. And what I do is I give myself an out. So what happens is, say I have, this is the most dampened controls. This would be the middle level of dampening, and then this would be the least dampening. So if I have not enough control to get it back to the ground, I'm screwed. So I need to have a little bit less and a little bit more for the Maiden. Once I fly it, if it flies good, I usually fly in the middle, okay? If I need a big adjustment, then I usually go to the high or I go to the low and I kind of make my middle setting that. Then I split and I double. That's kind of what I do, okay? It's worked really well. It's served me well for many, many moons. Throttle cuts on, throttle sticks down, sticks are in the neutral position. Flaps in this case are in the middle position. We aren't using the gear switch, so we don't need to worry about that one. This is normally where I would assign for gear on switch A. Switch B is what I use for flaps. Switch H is for throttle cut in my case. You can use whatever you want, and then if you get up to the higher channels, there'll be a knob here, and then there'll be sliders here and here, okay? And then there's just more switches also. There's another switch here if you go up to the higher channels. So in my case, I just have the NX6 right now. We'll eventually do the NX8 and 10, and probably 10 is where I'll end up flying for a while. I'd like to do the IX, but I'm just not sure to make the jump I'm ready yet. Plus I don't need it, so. Okay, so everything is ready to basically bind. You'll notice that this plane isn't quite level. It's kind of sitting with its tail down. I want to try to get things as level and true as I can. Partly because it's just, I want it to be as level as I can make it when I'm doing my binding. Okay, so you'll notice I just turn those things to make it flat. There is a moment in time during forward programming where you actually get the plane to acknowledge its physical position in reality, and it's kind of a task. So for now, we're just gonna kind of get the control surfaces functioning. Then we're gonna do that process. So binding, I have to refresh my memory a little bit so that I can tell exactly how to bind so that we initiate it so that forward programming will be an option later. So we're gonna pause real quick and I'll review it with you before we do it. Okay, so I was correct. We do the basic setup, make sure the control surfaces are going the right direction, all those normal things. And then this manual goes so far is to tell you to like go fly it and all this stuff. I'm like, whatever, I'm not doing that. That's crazy. I want all the controls done when I get ready for my Maiden. So that being said, we will be using this battery predominantly. It's gonna be an awesome pack. Maybe we'll use this one, I'm not sure. I kind of doubt it. It's like basically the same size. It's probably about the same weight. Why would I use a smaller pack? Except that it happens to have the same connector. So I have multiples of these, so we're probably gonna end up just using this. This is gonna be our go-to size, the 3200. And we will adjust the CG accordingly, which is what we never actually did. Before we bind, let's do that. Canopy goes in like this, drops down, and then snaps. It's kind of not, oh, good, it popped up that time. I've noticed it sometimes on these pop-up canopies, when you first open them up, they'll be stuck just a little bit. And once you break that the first time, they're really good going on and off, okay? All right, so CG is marked on the top of the wing, and you can actually CG this plane just in the regular fashion because it's technically a high wing plane. Okay, so I probably should have marked the bottom, but I can tell about where that CG was supposed to be. Now you're gonna notice something. It's pretty flat and I'm on the front, okay? So what that tells me is that it's gonna lend itself to be a little bit nose heavy right now. That will make the plane fly over stable, meaning it's gonna wanna go down to the ground and crash, okay? But it's gonna go there fast. It's gonna give you plenty of control surface authority. You're gonna be able to control it. It's gonna be easy to fly, but it's also gonna fly maybe a little bit faster than you want. So with a tail heavy plane, here's a rule of thumb if you haven't heard it before, tail heavy planes fly once, nose heavy planes fly well. I don't know. I tend to think that with a sailplane, you actually sometimes fly them tail heavy so that you can search for thermals and things like that. But you also change the point where you pivot the plane. So the control surfaces get really spongy and crappy. So it just depends on what you're trying to do, okay? But in a sailplane, it's a little bit more complicated. So I prefer on a Maiden to be a little bit on the nose heavy side, okay? And when I say nose heavy, I mean just lending toward the nose heavy. I don't want it to be like dramatically nose heavy to where it's gonna like crash. Okay, so you'll notice that's, if I was on the back mark, it'd be quite nose heavy. So you'll notice I'm just kind of sliding this, just kind of sliding it. You see I'm moving that back. Okay, so I'm kind of like centered in the straps, maybe favoring back 1/2 inch. Got to remember, I'm using a slightly bigger pack than they called for too. That's feeling like I could probably do it, but it's also kind of leaning a little bit. So I'm gonna just go a little more drastic this time. It's gonna be harder and harder to work with this as I move it back. But you see I'm about, I'd say 1 3/4 inches here, and then we're like about 3/8 to 1/2 inch on the front. So I think we're gonna be good now. Felt like we were close last time. See, just a little bit of propensity to lean forward. I can live with that. I like that. Because that means this thing is going to be easy to hand launch. With no throttle, it should glide well, okay? If you're tail heavy and you hand launch, it's going to have a tendency to want to fall backward, okay? That's not good, falling backward. All right, so popping the hood, we kind of know approximately where we want to be now. Let's show the people where things ended up real quick. We kind of, we could just take the world's crappiest calipers and just give you a couple of baseline measurements. Again, this is going to be a little bit of a preference issue here, okay? So just to measure where we are from the front of the canopy opening, because it's easy to measure, we are right at, let's just call it 3 inches. If you really get right down to it, it probably needs to go back just a hair further. And then the transmitter, as configured right now, we are, I would say that we're right at about, let's just call it a 1/2 inch Yeah, we're pretty much a ½ an inch forward of that back of the opening for the battery tray. Wouldn't you say that's about right? So plus or minus a little bit. Again, it's going to depend on exactly what battery you pick, but my battery is bigger, so I will never fly this on a small pack and then put dead weight in here, because if I'm going to put weight in a plane, I want it to be by batteries. I want it to be something that's going to be an energy source, if I can do that. Okay, so we're where we need to be. Throttle cut is on and tested. Okay, so everything is ready to rock and roll. And all my switches are in the neutral setting, which is what we want for binding. So now to bind, I'm going to turn off my transmitter. You're going to have to get creative so they can see both of these. Okay, so this is off. Canopy is no longer a big deal. We can leave that off now. So in order to plug this in, obviously we have to plug it in like this. And then I believe we just press and hold the button while plugging in. That might be kind of a pain with this type of connector. In fact, only because of that, I'm going to use an adapter. I typically don't really need an adapter, but I have, and by the way, I have XT62. Oh, that's the wrong way.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, folks. I got that backward. It's supposed to be, well, shoot, do I even have that? I know I have an adapter somewhere.
Do you have one in the bag?
I think I probably do, but no, I don't want to search for it now. I've got so many adapters, guys, you wouldn't believe it. It probably looks a lot like your adapter stash. Yeah, we'll just plug it in. It's not that big a deal. It's kind of hard to make this while you're pressing the button is my issue. So I'm just gonna plug it in, and I think I can press the button at that point. Okay, be careful just in case.
Yep.
Okay, pressing. Now it's got the flashlight on. Okay, so now I'm gonna go ahead and turn this on. Holding the plane for security, binding. Telemetry. This is where you gotta be a little bit careful because your throttle could be backward. Auto config is going on. Here, come over here so you can see. Okay, so it is bound. So now I just need to be careful. It's not woke up yet. Okay, so I don't know what assignment I made for my flap, so evidently that's still on this channel and I need to switch it to this. No big deal. Okay, so obviously the throttle's not gonna go without me giving it. Let's test that next. Throttle cut is off. Awesome. Throttle cut's on and tested. Okay, so we're safe now there. Verifying control surfaces are gonna work the way we want them to. Stick back, elevator goes up. Stick down, elevator goes down. Okay, so watch what I'm doing here. Stick up, elevator goes down. Stick back, elevator goes up. Roll left, nope, it's backward. Okay, so that's one of the things we have to switch. So then rudder is also backward. So we're gonna go into servo setup. We're gonna click travel and scroll to reverse. We're gonna reverse rudder and we're gonna reverse ailerons. Okay, so now aileron left, aileron right, elevator up, elevator down, rudder left, rudder right. And you see how I kind of move my control? That's just, I do that to help my brain think about it, okay? So elevator up, elevator down, plus I wanna make it so you guys can see what's going on. So now the other thing is you'll notice that my flaps are in the incorrect setting, okay? So we need to switch that. Now how do we switch that? So we're gonna go in here to, first of all, we'll just walk over to monitor mode with one scroll to the right, and you can see obviously gear is associated with flaps. So now I can go into system setup, disconnect RF, channel assign. So gear needs to become flap. Or I could change the plug. Oops, see that? That's one of the issues you guys will find if you buy this thing. See how it says gear now?
Scroll it out. Let's
Hold
do
on,
it again.
hold on, before you get excited. See? Yep, the elevator's changing. Oh, by the way, the elevator, full landing flaps, down correction. Yep, it's working the right way, but I didn't put in a delay. Before I forget, flap system, speed, normal. Oh, by the way, I don't talk about this much, but I probably should right now. This changes the color scheme, but I think it's only on that screen. You can do the whole color scheme of your transmitter that way if you want, okay? I find this easiest to see, but it's really bad for filming. Okay. Go back to channel assign. I'm gonna inhibit that. Okay. So it's technically on gear. I think I might have done it on.
Just want to repeat.
Oh no, I don't care about that. I can just reassign gear to B. And then I don't really care why that's there. Awesome.
Okay.
Okay, so now A is not doing anything, but B is. And I need to go into servo setup, reverse, gear. So now flaps, takeoff, landing. Okay, those are big flaps, which is awesome. So now let's go back into flap system. You see how it says speed 2 seconds? 5 seconds? That does not look like 2 or 5 seconds. That's because currently this is not associating flaps with gear, okay? See, this is flaps. It thinks it's gear still. Oh, how are we gonna get that figured out? Whoops, sorry guys. Go to system setup. You have to get all this stuff figured out before you. See how that's inhibited? That's correct, channel assign. Okay, this is what we're gonna do. Inhibit. See, it's not gonna let me jump onto that, is it? Okay, so I'm gonna choose auxiliary 2 for B. Let's see if this works. Okay, so now that's tied to one of these, and I don't know which one. Obviously not that one. That's throttle cut, I don't wanna mess with that. Nope, okay. So this is where we run into that little glitch. See how auxiliary 2 is moving? And then the elevator is correcting as well, okay? It's kind of weird though, it is moving fast though. All right, we're gonna play with this and come right back. We'll tell you what we found out. Okay, so sorry to do this to you guys, but I ended up giving up on my attempts because until the software patch fixes the one known issue that I know about on the NX6, which is the flap assignment within the menu structure, I'm just gonna switch to this channel 6 right here, okay? So I just physically move it from 5 to 6. And as per usual, I had to create a new model, so I'm just gonna show you what I'm doing to get rid of the old one because I basically copied everything and I was able to up the ante a little bit on the flaps so I could get a little bit more throw so that it's flat here. So it's flat, okay? And then I also made it so that they would go down a little bit further and not buzz. Okay, so you'll notice they're moving slow now. So I'll show you that in the flap system. I noticed that part of that little glitch with our setup was that I wasn't actually able to manipulate the flap and elevator both slow. I also wasn't able to rotate the direction of travel. I was only rotating the direction of the switch condition, okay, which is weird. Okay, so I'm gonna scroll down, system setup. Are you sure? You might wanna go to the other side in case something would go wrong with the prop. I've already tested the throttle cut, everything should be fine. Okay, so model select, you'll see I have a new acro here, and then I have this model here. So this one's gonna get deleted and this one's gonna get kept. Okay, this one's currently bound. Okay, so I'm gonna go back into that. I'm gonna change the model name so I know what it is. So it's actually, this is gonna become number 4. Okay, and this is an ASW. So we'll type that in real quick and we'll come right back. So I added an approximate sign, or a tilde, I think is what we call that.
Wait, hold on.
So I added a tilde into the model name so that it's different, even though I've numbered them both 4. So I just want to show you what happens when you do the same number. It doesn't really matter. So I just know this is the one I want to delete, and then I'll eliminate that special character. Then to delete, I believe you can go to, where is the delete? It's model utility. There it is, model utilities. Delete model. So it's going to ask you to delete this model. Yes. So delete. Okay. I'm going to go to sort model list. Yeah. And just put that to the last position and then go back. And then go back. And then I can go back to my model name. Whoops. Okay, so now I need to select that. Click on this, clear it, and then I can walk back out. And there you have it. So we have elevator, ailerons, rudder, flaps with elevator correction and time delay. You want to give them a shot from the other side. Okay, so all the basic functions are working. I also currently have Vario function. I have AS3X spatial awareness, which is really cool on the telemetry, that all auto-configured. Okay, and I also did a live bind, which I've never actually done that successfully before, which is super nice. I just, while it was on, I pressed the button. After a power cycle, I pressed the button, and then I just went into the bind menu, and it was super smooth. That's the first time I've ever done that and actually had it work, which is really cool. So I'm rolling to my left. I'm rolling to my right, correct? Okay, pulling up on the elevator, pushing down. Okay, I'm yawing to the left, I'm yawing to the right, and then I have flap deployment and flap deployment. Show them real close up for the elevator correction. You can see it move. You're gonna have to show them from the side more than likely. There you go. That correction happens in time with the flap deployment. That was part of the reason why I went through the trouble of remaking the model, because you need to have that timing right. If it's fast acting, it doesn't really matter, because your elevator is gonna go down and your flaps are gonna go down. And if it takes 10 seconds, then it's gonna take, if it's 20 seconds, and keep in mind that sweep, I have it set to 2 seconds. So 2 seconds is like, if this was full up, and this was full down, it's gonna take 2 seconds for the entire maneuver from here to here. But if you're only going 30% of the way, it's only gonna take, 30% of the time, okay? Well, in this case, 60%, because it's 30 on both sides of the sweep. So that being said, everything is functional in terms of regular flight controls, and then let's show them what automatically sets up. So on the regular setup screen, this is just like your regular home screen. You can see you've got all the regular setup on the monitor. Whoops, sorry guys, I'm trying to go slow. And then you've got a flight timer and different stuff here. It shows you your receiver voltage, which is 5.3 volts from the VEC. Then it's got your min-max altitude warnings and different things. So just hold still. I'm gonna try to move this and see if the altitude changes. See that? That's the change that you're seeing when I'm moving the plane, which is kind of cool. And I'll show you another place where you can see that. RPMs for the motor, altitude. Okay, so let's show the people This is really cool. Okay, so this is part of the vario function, okay, because it's got a barometer in there. See that? So now show the people just show back there. Okay, so this says 3, that says 1. It says 3 feet, 3.6 feet compared to 0, okay? That's how accurate that is. That's pretty incredible. So that's part of the reason why the T is more expensive than the TA on the AR-637. So come over here again. I know it takes a second for you to get the lighting right. Yep. Okay, then scrolling over, whoops. So this is AS3X gains and then the heading, and that tells where you're tied to, like which switch you're tied to. That's the second reason why I wasn't super bummed about losing the channel as I had originally configured it, because gear channel would typically be like auxiliary, not auxiliary, it'd be gear, then it goes auxiliary 1, then auxiliary 2, and so on and so forth. This is only a 6-channel receiver, but this is technically a 7-channel transmitter, okay? Whenever you have an AR-636B, you actually have, I believe, an 8-channel receiver, and an AR-637TA, I think it's 7, and I think this one's 7 as well. It might be 8. There might actually be 9, but you can use those top channels. Like if you have a DX18, you can assign the knob to this way top end channel. We're not gonna have all those functions. We're just gonna have the ability to turn AS3X on and off, or we can adjust the gain settings per the switch position. Okay, so we're gonna use that unused channel that's actually a physical channel, which kind of sucks, because you'd really like to use a channel that's beyond the usable channels, and auxiliary 2 technically is available. We may actually be able to use that one too. So gear is a real functional usable channel. So like if this is a retract, if this is a true retract, you could use that in the current state, and then you would go up to auxiliary 2 to control your status of your gyro, or AS3X in this case. Did you catch all that? Mm-hmm. Okay, so sorry guys, I'll try to explain that as we go through. Oh, dang it, sorry. I'm gonna scroll back over to where we were. So you can also see the gyroscope settings, which is so cool. So you can actually see the different axes. That is just so cool that you have those live values. And it keeps looking at the max and min, the max. So like, sorry, I'm just gonna have to do this like this. Okay, so pitch down, pitch up, pitch up, pitch down. Really quick. Now the new max setting should be higher. You see the higher number?
Hold on. Yes.
234, which is really cool. I mean, it's kind of a meaningless raw count, if you will, but it is a real value that can be used for basis for comparison. They also have G-force and all that stuff too, which is just really, really cool. But the vario is a big one. Okay, so just scrolling all the way over, there's your vario chart, which shows you 1/4 of a second refresh rate, and then up to, there's 15 seconds. So 0, and then there's 15 seconds ago, right? So this is 1/4 of a second right here, and then this is 15 seconds. So see, 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 4 Mississippi, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, something like that. So you can see, if you were to look at that screen while the plane is going up, so that's the way that's going to work. But it's only going to start beeping when there's a certain amount of input, and I don't think throttle initiates it, but I do think a change in barometric pressure actually activates that. The obnoxious noise. Okay, so that's another thing you'll want to decide on. And that's all the way over for me. And you can adjust where you want all that stuff to be set up. Okay. So now if you go down in your regular function list, which is when you click once, you can go all the way down to telemetry, and you can auto config this again. Careful of the prop just in case something goes wrong. Okay, so you can change which position they're in if you want to. So in my case, everything's where it's auto configured to, okay? So that happens automatically when you first basically do your bind, which is super nice. And you guys are probably understanding why I wanted this to be positionally where it is. So now there's another thing we have to do to identify whether or not AS3X is on or off right now. Because unlike a regular bind and fly model, you can actually set gain levels to nothing, and then you can hypothetically have your AS3X off. In my case, I'm not really gonna fly it with AS3X off, but it is nice if you have oscillation, which is where, okay, so AS3X is artificial 3-axis stabilization, is going to counter environmental impact, okay? So like, you see how nothing's happening? First of all, it's quiet, and you don't see the ailerons moving to counter that. And you don't see the rudder moving to counter that. Okay, now if I was holding the stick, then the plane would be allowed to move, and it would not try to correct that. But if I'm not holding the stick and it goes like this because the wind gusts it, then that rudder is gonna kick to resist that movement. Now it may not be totally successful, but it counters it to the degree of the change. And then it attempts to overwhelm that change from the environment. That's why a plane with stabilization is flying stable. It's flying with a certain heading, okay? So that's what stabilization is. Now auto leveling or safe, sensor aided flight envelope, is going to take it one step further, and it's gonna hold a level attitude. It's also going to give you limited bank angles and limited pitch angles, okay? I don't really care about that on this aircraft, but like for instance, this SU-30 has safe. So when you turn safe on, it's gonna level the plane and keep it flying straight and flat. When you have just stabilization, it's gonna help resist, you know, like this from the wind, but it's gonna fly straight. When you let go of the sticks, it's gonna keep going generally in the same direction, okay? With safe, it's gonna go back to level, and it's gonna fly straight and level, instead of like drifting off, kind of going toward the ground or wherever it's wanting to go, okay? That's the difference. But AS3X is the basis by which safe operates. So artificial 3-axis stabilization is AS3X. And then safe is sensor aided flight envelope. Those are the two patented technologies that the E-flite and Spectrum Horizon lineup operates within, okay? So there is a point where we have to teach this receiver what its position is in the world, okay? Because like it's on, it knows that there's changes of state and it can measure all this, but it doesn't know what position it's faced in the aircraft, okay? So sorry if I just got you guys with the mic. So that's the next thing. So throttle cut's so important on this process. You can remove the prop if you want, or you can just be careful, like I have for years and never cut myself except for once with an Aero Commander. It's a small plane. And it was a small cut too. But if I got cut with this, that'd be a bad day. Okay, so this is the part where I have to actually do the forward programming. So I'm gonna just refresh my memory and then we'll come right back. Yes. Okay, so in order to do this, we have to go into, actually we're gonna pause it for a sec. Okay, so you may have noticed we're having trouble picking up the screen, right? So I'm gonna go to System Setup, and I'm gonna go into Palette Setting, Palette Utilities. So, is that better or worse? See, you can change color schemes.
Ooh, that's, I don't know. Maybe we should try that with the dark background.
See that, black and white?
That's not good. Go back to the red.
See, no, that's like, that's the green one screws you up. I'm trying to figure out the difference between this and that. Oh, that's red, yeah, and this is orange.
The red is better.
Okay, then we also have black and white, then we have Spectrum Dark, and we have orange. Ooh, that actually seems to be pretty good.
Might not be bad.
Because look at the saturation, guys. So this is just something I didn't know. So you personalized, I don't know what that means. I'm sure it's probably gonna take me like 7 hours to set up. So we're gonna try orange. That seems to be the best.
Okay.
Okay, so now you can see that obviously everything looks a little bit different, and everything is still, it's just like a high contrast. It might be a little easier for us to film. I prefer the white, but we're gonna try this
Yeah,
for the
that's
sake of filming, okay? So forgive the difference. If yours looks a little bit different, you can change that yourself, okay? But you can see the color of this, it's gonna work better for us.
Yep.
Okay, so we need to do forward programming. So basically the first thing that we need to do is the first time setup in gyro settings. First time setup, okay. This says to low throttle is required to enter. Obviously we're in, so we must have had the throttle low. They recommend a throttle cut, of course. Okay, so first time setup. Make sure the model has been configured, including wing type, reversing, travel, trimmed, etc. before continuing. So exactly, how are you gonna trim this? You're gonna have to know that it's flying well. Any wing type, channel assignment, sub-trim, or servo reversing changes require running through initial setup again. Okay, so we know that. Set the model level and press continue. Now, I want you guys to stand back for a second, camera crew, and I want you to be aware this is a sailplane. The wing has a very small amount of dihedral. It is not a Fox, so it doesn't have like a flat wing. As a result of that, you have to kind of be a little bit hypersensitive to that because you do want this plane to have a good reference for level, okay? On a plane stand, that helps a lot. If you don't have a plane stand, you could find like a crack in your couch. If you have a recliner, something like that might work well. You can set up a couple of pillows that would help to hold the wings up, and then you can get really anal retentive and put a level on it. I'm not gonna get that level.
Or if you had like the bar stools or chairs or something.
Yeah.
A couple things of the same height, just.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, that's another way you could do it. I think we're close enough for what we're doing, and what I'm doing is I'm looking at a door frame, and then I'm just lining it up with a vertical axis, and that's how I'm telling them if I'm level. So set the model level and press continue. Now, I'm just being respectful of this prop area just in case. Okay, so set the model on its nose and press continue. If the orientation on the next screen is wrong, go back in. Okay, so basically this is where it's learning how it's positioned physically inside of there, okay? So I'm gonna keep it square, but I'm gonna put this down onto the ground right here. Actually, I'm gonna set it level here just so it's easier for you guys to see, and it's closer physically because it does have a barometric measurement. Okay, so I think I might have double bumped the button. So I have to probably go through that. It's not really that hard to do, so I'm just gonna do first time setup again. You don't have to see every step again, it's all the same.
Okay.
Any wing type, okay, so just give me the warnings. It says set model level and continue. Okay, continue. Set the model on its nose and press continue. I did not highlight continue, therefore back was highlighted.
Oh, okay.
That's what went wrong. My apologies, guys. So I'm setting this. This happens to have a good nose for that. Okay, look. It says orientation 5. Okay, so you see where the AR-637 is? The bind button is back there. Now you can let it back down. The bind button's back there in mine, right? So does that not agree with the position? It does. Mm-hmm. So you see, it kind of shows the direction that it's sitting. Okay, so now we can go to continue. You can also just switch it to whatever it is. Okay, so gain select. Okay, so now I can choose what switch I want to use. The gain channel is only going to be auxiliary 2 basically, okay? So I'll set it to this. And then there we go. Okay, so I'm just respecting the space of the throttle. Receiver is rebooting. That's why you hear the beeping. That's why I'm respecting the space. I can stop the plane if something would go wrong. Okay, so it's rebooting. It danced once, which means AS3X only has been initiated. When you hear 2 dances, that means safe's been initiated. Okay, so click for menu. All right, cool, so we're back out now. So now, first thing I'm gonna test again is throttle cut. Is working. Throttle cut is off. Okay, so we are working, and you'll notice there's braking. Mm-hmm. Okay, so braking means it's resisting me doing this. Okay, so it's going to attempt to stop it. And when that stops, then the wind or the air pressure is going to blow this to a collapsed position. There's a lot of drag on a prop that's spinning like this. It's almost as though there's a plate of solid material blocking that plane. We call that tractoring when it's just spinning, okay? You want that to stop and fold. This is already programmed to do that. If it's not been programmed at the factory, the way you would typically do that is you would turn off your throttle cut, you'd unplug your battery, and you'll start from a virgin state where everything is set up, and then you would plug it in with your throttle stick all the way up, which sounds very dangerous, and it kind of is if you do it wrong. So you do it in a safe position, and then it's going to start beeping at you. And then you follow the instructions, which most ESCs are going to be either included in the manual for the plane, or it's going to be included in the manual for the ESC, and you just follow the beeping pattern. Usually it's the first beep that you hear. Okay, soft, yeah, low voltage, there's the programmable options. So these are the options for the brushless speed controller here, okay? Now there's also programming utilities that you can purchase. Here's your beeps, okay? So after entering program mode, so in order to go into programming mode, you have to make sure the throttle cut is off, throttle stick is all the way up, then energize your circuit, okay? Don't worry, it's not gonna start. It won't let it start. So it's gonna start singing beep. When you hear the one beep, and you're gonna figure out if brake is on or off. So then you move your stick on your controller down to indicate I wanna enter that level of the menu. And then you can impact change by following the instructions on page 13 in this case, okay? Provided you have not bought this as a ARF, an almost ready to fly. That means you'd be providing your own ESC electronic speed control. In this case, the ESC that came with this as a plug-in fly from FMS has already been programmed that way. So, all right. So believe it or not, we're actually, let's verify our direction of travel on everything real quick. So we'll just turn the plane so the easy figuring. Elevators up, down, ailerons roll left, roll right, rudder left, rudder right for yaw. Full flaps, very cool. Okay, so now the next thing we need to test is to see if AS3X is responsive. And then we also need to see what condition switch D, which we tied in the forward programming to the gains, is going to be on and which one's off, and if we want to impact change on that. So the first thing you have to do for AS3X to be active is you have to give throttle over 25%. I'm going to test. I hear nothing. I'm going to safely hold this down. Throttle cut is off. Okay, braking's working, throttle cut's on and tested. At this point, it should be active if it's going to be active. Hear it? It's working.
Just barely.
It's working. I can see
That's all
it.
I can hear now.
Elevator, elevator. So what I'm looking for, it's hard for you guys to see this because my camera crew is attached to a lapel mic, so she can't hold the camera on here. When I move this, I want to see, as I go to my right, your left, I want to see this resist the impact, and I can see it plain as day. That's perfect. Same thing with the elevator. I'm lifting and I'm looking for it to go up. Doesn't matter how ridiculous you look, you need to be responsible for this, because if it goes the wrong direction, your plane's gonna crash, because you're gonna throw it or fly it with throttle, and when it starts to drift with wind, it's gonna continue doing that until it crashes, okay? Aileron up, down, yep. And aileron, since they're a tied channel, you don't have to check both sides, but I'll check both sides. Yep, up, down. So every one of the axes is working. Now, there is a gain setting. Gain speaks to the amount that AS3X is going to operate in order to impact the performance of the aircraft. So like if you have low gains, then when the wind lifts this wing, it's going to be allowed to resist it by a factor of gain. If gain is greater, it's going to fight harder. If gain is lower, it's going to fight less. Now, why would you want to fight less hard for gain? If you have wind picking up this wing, okay, you really want to resist that. But when you're flying in a straight path, there's certain aerodynamic effect that happens. It's called oscillation. And what can happen is the stabilizer will overcorrect and then undercorrect and then undercorrect and then overcorrect. And what's going to happen, it's always overcorrection, but just for easy understanding here. It's going to kick the nose up and then kick the nose down, and then it's going to get into this oscillation. And that's what's going to happen, and that's called an oscillation. It can happen on any of the 3 axes of control. It can happen at the same time. It can rip apart a plane if it's fast enough. Typically, what you want is you want the gain to be high enough to never oscillate the plane, but low enough to never oscillate the plane. So I hope that made sense. If you're going at maximum speed and there's no oscillation, then you could turn up your gain until you see oscillation, then turn it down by 1 factor of whatever adjustment you have, okay? And you can make those adjustments in your forward programming. So I'm going to turn this so that the prop is facing away from me, just in case something goes horribly wrong. And actually, you don't even have to go into forward programming now, I don't think, for this. You could just go straight down to digital switch setup. Oh, actually, I want to test one other thing before we even fiddle with that. So we attached auxiliary 2 to this. So we know that AS3X is on. So you guys are going to probably have to take my word for it because I don't know that you can see this. So it's working. It's still working. Ooh, it's not working. That's good. Really cool. So what that means is that when auxiliary 2 channel is at plus 100, let's call it, which is all the way up because it's 3-position switch, AS3X is on. When it's in the middle, it appears to be less, which would be 0. And when it's in the bottom position, which is minus 100, then it's actually doing nothing at all. I'm sorry, I said the middle was a little bit less. So this is a little bit, and that's full. And that's a little bit, and that's none. And that's a little bit, and that's full. So now we can demonstrate that in the menu so that you have a visual awareness of what you're set to. I'm just not sure where that is. Probably here. There's our Vario, which, by the way, the Vario seems super lame until you're trying to thermal, and then it's awesome. It's like the best tool ever.
That's safe gains.
So I don't think we have it set up. So we can go to forward programming. I just want to make sure it wasn't already set up. If it's already set up, I'll use what's default until we fiddle with it. Okay, so other settings. Fail-safe is what you can do. Like suppose you have safe in a plane. You can make it so that safe is on when you lose radio contact, which can be good or bad. Because if you're flying along and you're level and then you lose radio contact, yeah, this legitimately happens, then with safe on, it'll auto level, which is really fancy, okay? Now you can also just rebind your plane because the binding procedure automatically sets your fail-safe in most conditions. Most fail-safe for throttle is down, okay? If you're in a sailplane, that is different. It's handled differently for a reason because sailplanes, many times 0 is like braking. So you actually have crow applied, which would make your plane crash. And if you are in neutral at 0%, not minus 100, 0, plus 100, okay, at 0, you'd be at like 50% throttle. Then you would have no impact from crow, but you would have just flat ailerons. But then sometimes when you go all the way up, then the spoiler on, you'd set your flaps would come up slightly and your ailerons would come up, which would change the shape of the wing, making you faster. Okay, or you would have nothing at the full speed setting, which would be all the way forward. And then you would add full crow at the all the way down setting. Some people also have a switch that engages the motor, period. So switch on, full throttle, launch, switch off, no throttle, I'm flying a sailplane. Does that make sense? Yes, it does. Okay, so I don't do a lot of that stuff. Initiate receiver bind mode. Factory reset, restore. Okay, so good. So we don't want the other settings. Okay, thank you. Gyro settings. There's your AS3X settings, your flight mode settings, and your system setup. First time safe setup is next. You have to, remember how I was talking about the basis of AS3X, or the basis of safe is AS3X. If you haven't set up AS3X, there is no soup for you, meaning no safe. I'm not setting up safe. It's too complicated for this plane and I'm not gonna use it. So F mode setup. So evidently it's active, okay? And that's on the flight mode channel, okay, which I don't know where that's tied to, but I'm not really super worried about it. And then there's system setup. Relearn servo, settings, orientation, gain. So if you made a change, like you reversed a servo, you would need to go in here and at least relearn, but I'm gonna recommend you do the first time setup and just get it done, okay? Orientation, and then gain channel select, okay? Roll. See? It's already set, but it never actually set up until we went into that setting. Okay, does that make sense to you guys? So pitch, yaw, and roll is attached to this switch. If you had a more sophisticated transmitter, like I do, which is a DX18, I could actually make assignments for each and every one of these. This is a switch, this is a switch, this is a switch, this is a switch, 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 switch. Slider, slider, button, button, button. You got so many buttons you don't know what to do with it. And the roller button. Yes, that is a button. So, to answer your question, you can do a lot more stuff with the more complicated transmitters. This thing is going to give you most of what you need as a beginner for sure, and then a lot that you'll never touch until you get up to something like that. When you need something like that, you're going to have it because you love doing this. If you're using that stuff, you love doing this, okay? All right, so.
You don't even use that stuff, and you love doing this.
Utilities. Okay. Copy flight mode settings. Okay, flight mode 3. All right, so I'm gonna walk out, I'm gonna walk out, I'm gonna walk out. I'm gonna walk out. So I'm just using the back button each time. I'm glad we switched the colors. That seems to be a lot easier.
Way better.
Okay, so I knew we were gonna eventually have to do that, so sorry to do that halfway through a video. Okay, so everything is operational. All the control surfaces are working, our flaps are working. One thing too, when you have a stabilizer involved, you may turn your flaps down so you can see them and make sure they don't move as though they've been treated part of another control surface. I've had that happen before and it can have some strange effect in your flight performance. Okay, my throttle cut is on and it's been tested several times. I'm not gonna test it again. Stabilizer is working. Flaps are not responsive to pitch, yaw, or roll, which is important, okay? That's not an AS3X thing. It has nothing to do with Horizon. It has to do with my personal experience. Cool, cool. Wow, look at this. There is totally a release here. Look, that's how you release your wing. This is a really well thought out plane. That is so nice compared to what I've seen on other planes. Okay, so guys, technically, the only thing we haven't done is we haven't fiddled with the gains. That is half. That is off. We're pretty much ready to fly. That wasn't near as bad as I thought it was gonna be. I think there's some other settings that you can do that are very critical, and I want to talk about those, but I don't know where to find them. The other settings are, there's different levels of stabilizer, okay? So let's look at this. And I'm trying to remember what it is. Level mode and auto capture. This is a safe setup. This looks simpler than the last one I used. Set orientation manually. There is a way to change the amount of gain range that you're within. On that Airbus, or gosh, sorry, Boeing 737 MAX 9, I had to set up the stabilizer on certain different levels. And I ended up picking a level that was too great. And so it oscillated badly. So we had to change it and back it off. If we have problems with the gain on this, my go-to is gonna be less and less. And then, look at this, guys. Remember how we made the adjustment? You see how it's not changing? That's because we're still in flight mode 1, okay? See how it says FM1, flags 1, state 2, okay? It's just weird because I can definitely see what appears to be a difference in gains as I move the plane. I can't see it through the menu though. So that's what I need to play with. I think it's in forward programming. Oh, there's also this. I forget what that is. Whoa. Oh, that's, I'm sorry. Sorry guys, that's something else. That's for FPV stuff. Start buying. It's got to be in here. I think I need to make my assignment a flight mode. Oh no, that's right. You have to go down to system setup now. F mode setup. See? Here's your 3 different flight modes. See this? See how there's A, A1, B4, B3? See that right there? See how the flight modes are changing? Whoa, crappers. Okay, so now let's walk back.
Flight mode 9, flight mode 8, flight mode 9, flight mode 1, flight mode 9, flight mode 8, flight mode 9.
So now we're going to look. So there must be stuff already preset in there on those different flight modes. But now you can make your adjustments to those flight modes. Oh, where is that flight mode? It's not under forward programming, I don't think. Whoops.
Flight mode 9, flight mode 8, flight mode 9.
It's obviously changing, but you don't see it. That's because flight mode is different than what's being adjusted in this gyro setting. See this? We've already made that assignment, right?
Flight mode 9, flight mode 1, flight mode 8, flight mode 1.
I'm not sure what to make of that. You see how it's trying to make it go to D?
Flight mode 9, flight mode 1, flight mode 8, flight mode 1.
See this? Auxiliary 2.
Flight mode 8, flight mode 1,
This is just telling you what's available to do that.
flight mode 8, flight mode 1.
Inhibit AS3X or active.
Flight mode 9,
See?
flight mode 1, flight mode 9, flight mode 8, flight mode 1, flight mode 9.
So on 3 it's active, on 1 it's inhibited. Active, inhibited, inhibited. You see what's happening? So now this is active, then it's inhibited, then it's inhibited, meaning it's off. I want it to be on for each of the modes, but I just want to change the value, okay? So flight mode 1 is going to be active. Flight mode 2 is going to be active. Flight mode 3 is going to be off, okay? So now, within that, see? See what happens? It's always the same part of the menu in there. So now we're going to walk out. Now when we scroll over here, see how it's changing? Idle. So it's off there. The stabilizer's on. Stabilizer's on. The stabilizer's idle. Ah, oh, dang it. I wanted to change those settings. You see this? Now look at this. Those numbers don't change there because you would tie another channel to that to change the gains on all 3 of those channels simultaneously. So now It's on by looking at the rudder. It's on, but it's less. And it's completely off. This plane is ready to fly. Why? Because I have nothing, I have a little bit, and I have a lot. Which you'll notice, without setting any of that crap up, so you could see it here visually, it was still working. But now we can get in there and impact change on each of those flight modes. So, guys, that last bit is confusing. It's hard for me to explain because I've only done it twice now. But I did get it working. So if you really want to do all that stuff, all you have to do is just rewind this hour-long portion and just watch and copy it. I wouldn't ask a lot of questions about it yet because I don't really know yet. I'm still learning myself. The good news is we got a long time to figure it out because this is the go-to thing. So you don't have to worry about this time investment of learning how to do all that stuff being in vain. It will not be in vain. It's going to be a good use of your time. The other thing is you have to remember that they have protected a certain amount of that setup to impact change in a safe and AS3X environment. So when you see some of the stuff not doing anything, it's actually being saved to do stuff for safe, okay? That's why some of the menus don't change when you're like, why doesn't that change when I do this? It's because they're preserving a little bit of that for safe. Okay, that being said, you guys have probably already seen this entire video. You can see where we stuffed the battery, where we've kind of got that. The only thing we have to do in terms of build to finish this build would be, honestly, in my opinion, would be to throw probably one more zip tie to really secure that receiver, because I actually don't have a problem with having that mounted with zip ties. I think the manufacturer, in this case Horizon Hobby, or Spectrum, would prefer that we use a double-sided tape so that you have some isolation from the vibration that's induced by the motor. But to be honest with you, I'm not sure if it matters. So if we have good performance, we're going to keep it this way. And if we have poor performance, then we're going to change it. So without further ado, we're going to get the second zip tie in here so that my wife doesn't bury me in the backyard and let the kids know I left.
You have to buy me dinner first.
Oh yeah, we're going to be doing that like ASAP when we're done with this.
Then we'll bury the backyard.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes. Yes. Okay. So you see, there she is. I need one more bend, evidently. And I hear the cats in that other room.
I know.
And they're doing something. I don't know what they're doing, but I'm sure we'll go in there and find like a bag of flour opened up.
Oh no, we got a bunch of potatoes today. So.
Oh, dang it. Are you serious? They're probably having a potato paradise in there. All right, I need some needle nose pliers to grab the other half of that. And the other thing I didn't do is I didn't make any accommodations, I mean 0 accommodations for the antenna, which we're going to resolve too real quick. And then we should be done with this plane, ready to fly. And then the next step, of course, would be to tweak whatever settings we need to tweak. Okay, so just kind of grabbing that second half of the zip tie. If you don't have forceps are really handy for steps like this. Forceps, also known as hemostats, or if you're an old guy, doobie holders.
Or if you're a woman, forceps are not those.
Well, if you're an old gal, then yes, they might be. Depends on your vintage. So now that's tight on there. And so it shouldn't be allowed to pivot super easy. I mean, yes, you could technically pivot it. So the absolute position of this receiver is only going to be moved if you crash. And if you crash or if you bump it internally, it's not going to make a big consequence, because once it's restabilized positionally, then it's not going to have any impact on the performance of the plane. Given that it's in the yaw axis, it shouldn't be a big factor. But if you have a huge change like this, it could actually change the way that your plane is responding to its position. In reality, I totally missed the garbage can when I threw that. So the cats are probably gonna be eating that soon. Delicious, right? All right, so the last thing I have to deal with is the antennas, or the antennae, I should say. The antennae are gonna need to be secured somehow. Are you filming the cats again?
Because he's playing with the zip tie that you missed in the garbage.
great.
He's eating it, like you said.
I figured you would. Okay, so antenna 1, I was thinking of taping that on the side, just because that would be super duper easy. So I'm just gonna stick that on there somewhere along here. So I'll just pull this power wire out of the way. I think about the worst place that antennas can be is basically right next to the battery. So I'm gonna put mine right next to the battery. I mean, the battery is not inherently, you know, impassable, but it's certainly less passable than other structures within an aircraft. But the good news is we have 2 antennas, which is also known as diversity array or diversity antennas. So you see these wires here? These wires are all the little things that I didn't deal with earlier. And honestly, I'm just gonna slide those back so that they're just more or less out of the way. Gotta keep in mind, we're still a little bit early in this process. We could want to redo some things later. So I'm trying to be a little bit respectful of that possibility. And I'm gonna use these needle nose pliers. You wanna move a little bit so they can see a little better wide angle what's going on. See, I'm gonna grab this and pull this toward me. But you see, I'm kind of tangled up on a million cables. So I'm having to be careful. Do not crush that thing when you're manipulating it. If you're using something like needle nose pliers, you gotta be mindful of that, okay? So I'm gonna slide all these wires over here, and I gotta get around that ESC lead or whatever that is. I think I gotta get around this one. Yeah, we're around it now. So now this one's going lengthwise with the plane, so I want this one to go another direction. I'm really kind of tempted to do it there, but I don't like the idea of having to squish it in there every time. And then eventually over time we could compress it to the point where it becomes damaged. But that, I don't know, that might not be a horrible spot. Let's try it and see if it crashes in a million pieces.
That'd be a bummer.
It would be a super bummer. I really like this plane. I think it's gonna be a super nice plane. Okay, so probably not the best placement of antenna I've ever done, but I'm just kind of pushing it so that it digs down into the foam a little bit. And then what that's gonna do is then when the canopy goes on there, it's not gonna interfere at all with the antenna. Oh, of course our battery lead got shifted when we were playing with the antenna. So now that goes on there just fine, holds into position, and we're basically ready to fly it, but of course it's dark, so we can't fly it right this second, but we're gonna fly it. Hopefully we get some decent weather tomorrow because it's a Saturday tomorrow for us. And that means I might actually get to fly, which is super exciting. Have we missed anything that I'm not thinking about, camera crew? Because I think we pretty much hit on all the details, all the painful details.
While you were reading the manual, I was Googling whatever is on the tail. Choco, I'm sure that's not how you say it, Fly, is a Swedish company that makes like giant scale sailplanes.
You mean like real ones?
No, like really big remote control ones.
Oh,
Where
cool.
like one wing is like bigger than this, like longer than this whole thing. So it is a real, like that's their real logo. You still don't have to like it. I'm just saying it's a real thing. I knew it wasn't going to change your mind.
It is. I have zero problem with the Swiss flag. I like that. I think it looks good for a sailplane. I actually have no problem with this artwork or that artwork. I like it a lot. Mm-hmm. I'd really like to see some high contrast lines on the bottom because this is kind of lame on the bottom because it's just white.
Yeah, some black
black
stripes or
stripes.
something would be nice.
Just some invasion stripe style thing that would show up down here, maybe some checkers, and then up here, nothing. Mm-hmm. That would be good. Because sometimes these have a tendency to blend in with the background. I'm not saying they always do. And then the other thing I'm noticing is that this flap, it's not way off, but let's address that real quick too. Let's show the people how to address that because they are separate servos, but they are adjustable. So let's show the people what I'm talking about real quick. 1.5 millimeters. So what we're looking at is we're looking at this relative to the next control surface. This one's lifted just ever so slightly here, and ever so slightly, I would say it's not lifted here. But you see right here, guys, I'm just gonna grab this 1.5 millimeter set screw and just back it off just a hair to the point where I can move the control surface manually, okay, to where it's neutral. I'm really surprised I had to do that, actually. I brought that down too much, I think. Now we test the flaps. Gorgeous looking flaps. I mean, I'm excited about this plane. Some people, this is not your thing. It is my thing. I really like sailplanes. They are some of the most fun to fly. And then if you haven't ever slope soared, get ready to live. It's just an amazing experience when you go out there and you can fly for hours with nothing more than Mother Nature providing the power. Okay, so I just lifted that manually with my hand, and then I'm torquing it down really tight. But then it wants to drop just a hair. Dang it, that's so annoying. I think what's happening is it's kind of finding the little recess on the shaft. Like it's got a little bit of a detent where it had been biting before.
Ooh, there it stayed a little bit more.
Yeah, but it's high now. So it's just up slightly.
Do you suppose is there a slight?
Oh, the aileron might actually be up a little bit. That could be part of my problem. On this side, I'm looking over here, and the aileron is just slightly higher. See, it's moving with AS3X too. Which actually, now that I sit and watch it, I need to verify yeah, it's going the right way. Basically, whatever direction the plane is rolling, pitching, or yawing, it needs to like resist it. Okay, so like if I lift, that thing should go up, which it does. And when I go down, it goes down. And then when I rotate, it goes that way. And when I lift, it goes up and down. Okay. So yeah, I feel like we've got those really nice and level. And if this one's down, you know, 1 fraction of a millimeter and this one's down a fraction of a millimeter, then that's fine too. And then if you want to fine tune that, there's one other way to do it. Okay, so I'm going to show you this real quick. So all the way up, look what I'm going to do here. Go into servo setup. You can go to your flap. You see how it says 130? Look what's happening to them. Look right here. I'm at 115. Now I'm at 125. Now I'm at 133. There's 137. Okay, so there's 137. So now I'm going to click. So you'll look, it's at 133 now. Okay, so now closing them or putting them all the way down. At 105, I can hear just a real light buzz. See how they're moving? You guys can't hear. Okay, 120. It's down as far as it'll go. And there's 133. Then takeoff flaps, then landing flaps. Okay. So that gives us the broadest range of flap function. Now I want to show you one other thing and then we'll be done. I promise. Come around here, camera crew. So I'm clicking into the function list and I'm going down to flap system. And then you see how it's minus 100, 0, and then plus 100. Okay, so that's all associated to the maximum throws that we just set up. So you could also make some of those changes here, except you can't, you see? You could only go to 100 and 100, but that is 100 is actually equivalent to whatever you set up in servo setup. So in my case, I like the 100, so I'm gonna leave that there. And then I'm gonna set this to a little bit less, okay? So now look what happens when I deploy flaps. Takeoff flaps, landing flaps, very aggressive. Takeoff flaps are just a lot less. See how it's barely down, and then very aggressively down. Now, why would you want that? Because you don't typically need to change the shape of the wing for a launch. And so what that does is that gives you like almost like a thermal or like just a gliding around, high efficiency, but more lift, okay? Whereas you do this, you're gonna lose a lot of efficiency because you're gonna produce even more drag than you want. So there's a balancing act on the takeoff setting, okay? And when I say takeoff, I mean like nothing, I mean takeoff, and then I mean landing, okay? Now the other thing too is that the elevator correction may not need to be much of anything. So I think this is where I'm gonna start from. It'll be minus 100, then minus 45, then 100, okay? And so at 100, I'll probably need something like 15%, and then I'll probably need like 3% here. So it's gonna be more extreme than what you would see in a standard warbird, for instance, where you've got a pretty proportional amount between takeoff and landing. All right, that's it, guys. This thing is ready to fly. If you're just getting to the end of this video, you're probably really overwhelmed, or you learned a lot, or you're like, geez, Brian, you did that the hardest possible way. That could be true too. But look at this gorgeous thing. You've already seen it fly. I haven't seen it fly. I can't wait to see it fly. And if you did like what you saw and you want to buy one for yourself, check the link in the description below. You will be supporting us financially when you buy this plane and or receiver and or transmitter and or battery, which we will link to all of the items that we use. The NX6, the AR637T, we'll link to that. Of course, we'll link to the plane itself, the FMS 2500 millimeter ASW-17, which is gorgeous. I cannot believe how easy it was to build. I can believe that it was a pain to set up the transmitter and that, but to be honest with you, I can copy this whole model now and move it to another one and then start with this basis and then adjust. The gains are gonna be one of those things that I think are gonna be pretty close, so I'm just not gonna fiddle with it. And if we find that they are an issue, then I can always go to that lower flight mode, and then I can go to the off if I need none. So sometimes when you fly in dead calm, you just don't want any stabilization. And sometimes when you're thermaling, you don't want any. So please smash the like button for us. You'll be helping us. If you can't afford to buy this, or you don't want to buy this, or you like another plane, please do find the video, check the description, buy the plane there, you'll help support us. But if you like this one, right in the description below. Beautiful plane, can't wait to see it fly. I think this thing is gonna be one of my best sailplanes, if not the best sailplane. And I know I probably say that a lot because I kind of do, because I like whatever I'm working on. The thing is, I've had a lot of good luck with sailplanes. I'd be surprised if this thing is anything but, because going together, it just feels good. It looks good, it's solid. And notwithstanding a couple of like really minor things on this model, I must say. Like not having black stripes on the bottom, that's a very hyper-specific subjective thing. I think it's gonna be awesome. Come back for more. We got tons of footage for you guys. I got 3 gigantic boxes in there, and I've got 4 or 5 small boxes, and then I probably got like 5 things coming. So it's not gonna end for at least long enough to do all that stuff. So thanks.